Well, here we go. The prize of 2024, the Cenk Uygur and Young Turks Meltdown. Brought to you by me and Base Life Guru with the original cut. Props out to that gentleman. And we are going to watch together as they melt down from their Kamala Harris initial predictions, no doubt, until they are a puddling mess on the floor like they were in 2016. That video is available in the video catalog on my channel. And here we go.
All right, look at this. Welcome to the Young Turks election coverage of the 2024 election. Cenk Uygur, Michael Short. We've got an election spectacular for you guys.
Yeah,
well, we're going to find out today.
We're ready.
To find out today. So, guys,
Cenk, you got fat.
This is an amazing election because, look, half the time you're not quite sure what's going to happen. But even then, I at least think I know, right? For whatever it's worth.
Of course, you think you know everything.
And you know, I've been pretty decent.
Why should this be any different?
And half the time, you know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen, right? This time around, not only are we not sure, I don't think anyone really knows. I mean, people will say they know. Mike's about to tell you he knows. Okay, we're doing a little
How silly! Here. Somebody thinks that they're smarter than me.
Okay. But given the lack of information, the lack of reliable data, and the amount of unlikely voters, I think it is very difficult to know. So, is it possible that the Republicans win the Senate? Of course. Is it possible that the Republicans hold the House? Of course. And if Trump wins, they have everything.
Setting the stage for utter catastrophe for all your Young Turks watchers. Make sure you stay tuned, everybody.
And imagine this squad with the House, the Senate, and the White House. So that's
love the thought.
Look, my opinion, we could, maybe disagree a little bit here, but is that if the Democrats have all three houses, it doesn't really matter. They'll barely pass anything.
He's got contempt for the Democrats. If you've noticed that his mouth, the right side of his mouth, from his perspective, went to the right, while the rest of his lips, his mouth area, stayed still. The sign of contempt. He has contempt for the Democrats.
Okay, but if the Republicans have all three, oh boy, watch out.
Oh boy, brace for impact.
So let's see what happens. I have been leaning Trump. Of course, I despise Trump. I don't want him to win. We're very honest about that. We'll get more into that in a minute.
Go ahead. Make sure to display your TDS, the fact that you hate him for your viewers. I'm genuinely shocked. This is the first election video that I've seen from a leftist outlet that has actually predicted Trump. Let's see whether there's a caveat.
But my intuition's been Trump until...
Oh, here we go. Until
4 or 5 days ago, about 5 maybe. And still the numbers started to come in for Kamala Harris that were very positive.
So
very good numbers.
Take on this, Cenk, similar to you.
I did not hear a definitive election prediction from Cenk. He's hedging his bets so that he looks smart either way. You go right in the middle. You don't make any prediction. You get to say, well, I wasn't sure, but I was leaning that way. And now maybe he was leaning Kamala's way. What a wuss.
Yours, although I came to it, I never was fully in with Trump winning this election. One thing that I will always say about Donald Trump, if I am right, if we are right, is that he ran a terrible campaign from the standpoint of being somebody who needed to win people over. He played very, very well to his base, but he didn't need to, right? He needed to expand that base. That base.
I'm pretty sure that he expanded his base. Pretty sure.
Lost him the election in 2020. Yes, he got a lot of votes. He did better than he did in 2016 in terms of raw numbers, but it wasn't enough. We're talking, as if it's all said and done, and I'm speaking in the hypothetical that you and I are both right, Cenk. And I think that Harris is going to win, and I think there are going to be some surprises. I think that Harris is proving, I don't think there's anybody, and I've said it before, who sits around and waits to see who Liz Cheney or Dick Cheney or Adam Kinzinger are going to vote for. But
exactly. That's why Kamala Harris ran such a terrible campaign, running with the likes of Liz Cheney, the warmonger's daughter, who is a warmonger herself, to give her credit for that too. Birds of a feather
What I do think that does is it gives a permission slip to a lot of Republicans who don't want to vote for Donald Trump. And there are a lot. I think a lot of the undecided
We
voters
needed
in
a
this
hall
country
pass.
are people that don't really want to vote for Donald Trump. They're Republicans who've never voted for Democrats. And I think a lot of them won't vote. But I think some of
For the record, I'm an ex-Democrat. I didn't vote in 2016 or 2020 because I was living abroad. This time, although I'm abroad again, I went out of my way to figure out how to vote for Donald Trump. And fortunately, Nevada made that pretty easy. So believe me, I took hours and hours of time figuring out how to do that. So there were people that were highly, highly motivated to vote not only for Trump, but against the blue team, who've gone insane.
them will, and I think some of them will vote for Harris. The way
Not
that
me.
Iowa poll came out the other day makes me
Ooh, the
think that
Iowa
if you
poll.
pull that out, if you extrapolate that and put it to the rest of the country, that Kamala Harris is going to win tonight. And I
That's if you believe the Iowa poll, which was just a push poll meant to bolster enthusiasm for a terrible, terrible candidate. It was nothing more than a paid-for psyop by the Kamala campaign, which paid $10 million for Beyonce Knowles to go out there pretending that she was going to sing as they promoted it, to say a few words and to walk away. That's a pretty high hourly rate, if you ask me.
think there will be surprises. I think states will be closer that we don't expect to be close, and I think that there.
Which way?
I don't know that it'll be a result surprise, but I think we're not going to hear calls in some states where we hear them very quickly, Jay.
Yeah. So that Iowa poll, of course, got everybody excited. And there's a couple of other data points that get people excited. Or it could go in either direction, but some of the Republicans could have voted for Kamala Harris. She might even have a larger lead. Obviously, it could go in the opposite direction, and she could have a smaller lead than we expected. But there's tons of anecdotal evidence, and you take it any way you like, and I don't put too much stock in it. But
That's
of
good.
Republican women voting for Kamala Harris. And so
And
Another
how
great
much is
prediction,
that going to
Cenk.
happen? We don't know. The independent woman is clearer. Independent women in that Iowa poll that we keep talking about, 2-1 in favor of Kamala Harris. And that
Ooh,
is an
smile about
amazing
that.
sign for her if that poll is anywhere near accurate. Okay.
Which it wasn't, which it was off by 16 freaking points. It had Kamala winning by 3, and she lost to Trump by 13. So another great poll that the propagandists put out there. It's a psyop. I can't believe how, as I gained to know more about politics, how disingenuous the whole game is.
Also, senior women, a category that Democrats don't necessarily win, or certainly don't win by these margins, 2-1 in Iowa for Kamala Harris. Senior women. Seniors vote more than anyone else.
And the other thing is that party switching in this election will almost certainly be it will be more toward Harris's favor. I think you're going to see
Another
more
great
Republicans
prediction,
voting
guys.
for Harris, more independents voting for Harris. Then you're going to see people switching parties the other way, Democrats voting for Trump.
Yeah. So, guys, we keep focusing on that Iowa poll because Seltzer is a reliable pollster in the past. She's been.
The more that they focus on this, the less anybody should believe them going forward, because they're highlighting a poll that was off by a ton, that when it was put out had political pundits questioning it. Thus, you should abort the Young Turks. And they're all in favor of abortion, so go ahead and do that to this channel. Not mine, theirs.
Terrific in Iowa. But she does get some things wrong, of course, as all pollsters do.
Okay,
But
caveat.
she's been more accurate than most. Biden, in one of those polls, when he was still in the race, so less than a year ago, was at minus 18 to Trump. Kamala Harris now in the last poll is +3. So that's in Iowa. So for all the people who said Biden should stay in the race, you're welcome. Biden would have gotten annihilated today. This would have been the most depressing day if you're a Democrat or you're against Donald Trump. There is almost no chance in the world Joe Biden would have won today. All right, let's go down to Georgia.
Then Georgia, I'm going to give to the Democrats. I just think that
Of course.
Georgia has a better chance of going to the Democrats than North Carolina, until I'm proven wrong.
So you're going blue in Nevada. Okay, that's a very good sign for Harris. We can see how this is going.
Why?
So
Because
let's go to the blue wall.
some
Let's start with
political pundit
Wisconsin.
made this prediction.
Wisconsin, I mean, we don't even have to do this incrementally. I think that the Democrat is going to win the 3 Democratic I think they're going to win all their home games. So,
oh wow! All right, he's going blue. Wisconsin,
it's a home game.
Blue,
Michigan,
Wisconsin.
Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
He's putting them all blue. Let's see. And Michael's got it all the way up at 292 to 246 for Kamala Harris.
Yeah. And here's what I'm going to say.
Spoiler alert.
I believe that Florida is going to be a lot closer than is predicted.
Another good prediction.
If
We need
there
to listen
is
to you
any
next
kind
election.
of-
Okay, Michael says 292 for Kamala Harris, and maybe a surprise pickup. Maybe we go beyond the swing states. That is a very optimistic call. I like it. It's bold. It's bold. I like it. Okay, so now let's go to my
Boldly
prediction. First, actually, come to me first. I want to be clear about this. My official prediction for this race is I don't know. And
Very bold. Very, very bold.
I'm going to stick with I don't know. It's something that I never, ever say because I just think that we don't have enough information. We did, is she going to landslide him? Anything is possible. So
That's why we tune into you.
I'm saying I do not know. And it's among the reasons why I'm so intensely curious about what's going to happen today.
Can you first say, I don't know again, so I can hear you say it again?
You can rewind the tape all you want, Michael, at home. So, all right, let's start out with the ones that, first of all, I'm confident about none of these. I'll make that clear. But I'll start with the ones that
Subscribe
I think
to
are
the
more
channel, guys.
likely to be true.
Please.
Okay.
And
Then I
thumb
go to
up the
Michigan
video.
and Wisconsin, and I say she holds that part of the blue wall. So the numbers lately from there look pretty good. She's got that surge of female voters that everybody's talking about. States that were already leaning blue and Biden had already won, and that historically are blue, she will then keep, right? But I'm going to go with what my gut says. I'm going to say Pennsylvania. No, I'm going to leave it. Hold on. So far, it's not looking good, right? So it comes down to Pennsylvania and North Carolina. And on Pennsylvania, the one I'm most unsure about, I went blue. And this is based on the latest polling, the latest information. If you'd asked me 5 days ago, I almost certainly would have said red, but I'm saying blue today. So let's hope that latest information is correct.
Yeah.
And based on the same recent information, I've got North Carolina going blue. So if she picks up those unlikely women voters, she'll win North Carolina and Pennsylvania, I think. Now, you could say, hey, then why wouldn't she win Nevada? Why wouldn't she win Georgia? I don't know. Good points.
I don't know.
Right?
Good
So
point. I don't know
if I knew, I'd
anything.
tell-
I'm a political pundit on the left who claims to know everything about anything, but I don't know. What could go wrong? I can't make a prediction in this election. I'm going to go with what my gut tells me. My oversized gut. It rolls down to the floor. Look at him.
And so if she picks up those unlikely voters, maybe she sweeps them all. And
Maybe we'll have to see, Cenk.
Is that a landslide? Not really. We only have 7 swing states. I mean, even if you pick up one you didn't expect, Iowa, Florida, or for Trump, New Hampshire, it's still not a landslide. Nothing's a landslide.
No, nothing's a landslide.
And then he said, he started fantasizing about putting Kamala Harris in the ring with Mike Tyson. Are you nuts? And the answer is yes, of course.
I don't know. I don't think that Mike Tyson threw a single punch at Jake Paul in their fight, which aired on Netflix. If you guys didn't see it, it was not really a fight. He just got in there and got paid and got his paycheck and left. Good on him, I guess.
He's nuts. Right. Of course. Look,
not
guys,
the Mike Tyson I
the
grew
Democrats
up with, that's for sure.
should be eternally embarrassed that they're not blowing this guy out. And we'll talk more about that as the day goes on.
That's absurd, but okay.
It's not at all absurd.
Yeah,
this guy's a lunatic.
He is, but it's not a question of party.
They should have landslided him every single time.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it.
He's a syphilitic clown. If you can't put away a syphilitic clown.
Syphilitic clown?
But there's
Are you saying that he has syphilis? Syphilitic? That's the only way that I can connect that word with anything meaningful. Watch it mean something obvious that everybody knows. Oh, well.
Okay, so my official prediction that I am forced into by my own network is 286 to 252 Kamala Harris with tons of fingers crossed. And the number one reason why I'm crossing those fingers is because 4 years with Donald Trump will be utter chaos, anarchy, pilfering, oligarchy.
Really? After what we discovered from USAID, you think that Trump's going to be the one pilfering our coffers as the Democrats threw the gold overboard with Trump coming in to left-wing NGOs that had only recently been formed, and you're talking about Trump pilfering and chaos. Oh yeah, you would have been absolutely certain, I guess, that the Democrats would have just led our nation down the hill into the abyss as they try to stymie free speech, destroy the First Amendment, and trans your children. I guess certainty is better than uncertainty in this case, for you at least, not for me and sane people.
Amplified on steroids, putting his donors completely in charge of the government. This is not how it's supposed to work.
RFK Jr. in charge of
oh no, good heavens, somebody that cares about America's health.
This is madness, guys. He went from drain the swamp to I'm just going to hand the government to my donors.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a turnaround. And one of the
is RFK one of his donors? RFK used to be a Democrat. All of the decent Democrats left the party, and that includes me.
Reasons that I'm picking Kamala Harris over him today, because I think he lost the thread. If he stayed on corruption, he stayed on populism, wasn't a lunatic, I think he would have won this election. But we don't know yet. Maybe he still wins it.
I think that you have a point there. He still
they
might.
They were being reminded, as Kendrick Lamar eloquently said, "You not like us.
You not like us. You not like us. This is eloquence in motion. You not like us. I might be the most eloquent speaker since Martin Luther King Jr. You not like us. How eloquent."
I was just thinking about how massively racist that is, that at that rally where there were so many white people, there were no jokes about them. It was the
No, white people never get jokes told about them. Never.
Othering of the people that were even there in support of an agenda that is dangerous to them, to remind them in that very moment, you not like us.
You not like us.
Bombed amongst the racists with racist jokes that were hacky, and they were, it
wasn't a racist joke. It was about a real problem that Puerto Rico has with trash overfilling its landfills on an island. There was nothing racist about it at all, but that's the way they're trying to frame it.
Those are roast jokes that were probably said maybe 10, 15 years ago. A watermelon joke, bro? Really? Come on now.
A watermelon.
There's a lot going on. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
It's a decent joke, and the crowd didn't even react well to it.
We're getting there.
What Puerto Rican, what Black person who loves themselves, what Puerto Rican who loves themselves, what Latin person who loves them?
If you love yourself, then you actually have a sense of humor, and you would even forgive it if it was a racist joke, which it wasn't, as I pointed out moments ago. The only people that are reacting to it are those who don't love themselves because they have no self-esteem inside. They seek it on an external basis. That's why they react to such, because if they are outraged, then they're somebody, then they're part of a group. So it meets all sorts of human needs, the need for significance, the need for group orientation and connection.
So would be like, oh, these are my guys. And that was what made me say, wow, in your face. You had to pick yourself up and drag yourself out of there if you were Puerto Rican after they just called your island, your home, garbage.
Which they didn't.
They can miss me with that.
But that's the way you all want to frame it.
There was no punchline in that joke.
Yeah, there was, because you're talking about a floating island of garbage that is out somewhere in the Pacific Ocean that is actual real, just piles and piles of bottles everywhere. And then you're saying that's Puerto Rico. That is actually a decent punchline. You might not like it, but it's a good punchline. These people don't know comedy. There's nobody there that's funny. None of y'all could be writers for The Simpsons. None of y'all could be an assistant for the writers on The Simpsons. None of y'all could get the coffee for an assistant for the writers on The Simpsons.
Insult was the punchline, right? Ha, Puerto Ricans are the worst. They're garbage. But why is that funny? I don't know why that's funny. Yeah. And so
it's funny because there's a garbage problem.
It was a bad Rico set, too,
right?
I
mean, people are like, you can't take a joke. You make jokes about Puerto Ricans, I do make jokes about Puerto Ricans. I make jokes about everybody, but I'm not.
But nobody else is allowed to, right?
I don't ever punch down, right? Why wouldn't we take it personal? It is stoking a wound that has been there for a very long time where you've been
the trash problem on your island, that's a wound that's been there for a long time. I guess I wouldn't be proud of that if I was Puerto Rican as well.
Humanizing us, sterilizing us, occupying our island, abusing our resources, taking us, raping us, doing all of enslaving us.
Enslaving? How'd you all get enslaved? I missed that because I could use my slave. I have a lot of work that needs to be done around the house. In case you all didn't know, I was joking.
Then saying that, why can't you just take the joke? It wasn't a good joke.
Because y'all can't.
This is gonna be your last time voting. We're gonna take care of that.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what my phone just said.
No, it's okay. You're gonna have Americans.
Because back when Biden was in the race, I was like, would you have Biden babysit your kids? Would you have him drive them to school?
Only if I wanted their hair getting sniffed.
Cool. Right? Yeah. So then that's not the right candidate. And we needed the right candidate to go against Donald Trump. We can't take any chances. Well, the Democrats have already taken away too many chances. Okay, we'll roll it in case you didn't see it, because it's we talk about it, but when you hear it, it's just a visceral gut punch. And it led a lot of people, including some Puerto Rican stars. Is it hospitado? I'm so bad. My Spanish is just non-existent. Sure.
A part of why I think Florida is going to be closer than we expect because of there's a significant Puerto Rican population there. And I think that's good.
This is what makes them so deranged. The fact that they think that people are going to respond as they desire to a non-joke, to a joke that wasn't about race at all, but the way that they try to frame it, and they think that people are so stupid that they're going to be responsive to it, that everybody is so wokeified that they take everything so personally. This is what the weak people in our society do. They take everything personal, just the way that these a-holes here are imploring them to do and hoping.
And I think what happened at Madison Square Garden is going to matter tonight in some way, shape, or form.
Big time. I'm going to go back on my previous comments.
This election, but this poll tells me that a lot of women, a lot of white women and white men are crossing over to the Democratic Party and voting.
Or maybe the poll's just wrong.
To be taken seriously. I say it should be taken seriously because her track record is impeccable. Dave?
What about Vice President Harris? I think she's a dumpster fire. Tell me about if Donald Trump does not win, what do you do?
I hope that I'm going to die. I don't want to live like this anymore. You like our country the way it is now?
If Vice President Harris were to run, how would that make you feel?
Worse than Biden.
In what way?
All.
Specifically.
Agreed.
She does nothing right.
For me, I go to a super liberal school, and I still couldn't say, I don't know who could put up a proper fight against Trump at this point.
What about Vice President Harris?
No.
Who would be the best candidate for the Democrats to run right now against Donald Trump?
Honestly, they have a very weak bench. I can't even really think of anybody. Kamala is so disliked, even not just by Republicans and independents, but her own.
Start with the president.
She absolutely was tremendously disliked. She had the lowest approval rating of any vice president until they knocked Joe Biden out of the race, forced him out. The party that not only stole the candidacy from Joe Biden, who earned the delegates after he refused to leave, but previously had robbed Bernie Sanders 2 times of the nomination. Now, I'm not a big fan of Bernie, but don't tell me that you're the party of democracy when you don't even hold primaries that are either not rigged or that you just anoint Kamala and then you pretend that she's so joyful. Oh my God, the angel of joy has descended to earth to grant us this gift and bestow it upon us, as the media will tell you, and Seltzer's poll.
I think it will be an electoral college landslide for Kamala Harris. I'm convinced that she will win 6 of the 7 battleground states. She'll win every battleground state except for Arizona. I think we'll know very early tonight with North Carolina and Georgia. They report pretty quickly that Kamala Harris is headed for a good night. And I just think that Kamala Harris, I think she's generally up by 4 or 5 points. I think she'll exceed that. I think also between what Ann Seltzer predicted in Iowa. So I think Kamala Harris is going to have an electoral college landslide, and we will know that tonight. As far as the House and the Senate, I do think that Democrats will take control of the House. It'll be still fairly close. Maybe they, have a net gain that gives them perhaps a margin of 5 or 6. But I think they'll win a lot of these House races. And as far as the Senate, I'm going to also go out on a limb out there, and then I think the Democrats will keep control of the Senate. It'll be 51-49. I think they'll have a couple of upsets. I think there'll be some surprises. Democrats maintain control of the Senate.
Make sure to listen to this guy in the future. All you have to do is write these people off completely. That's how you become successful. You go based on people's track record and don't let them keep fooling you.
Take control of the House. Kamala Harris wins in a landslide, and she wins it tonight. It's clear.
I just
clear.
That's me. John's saying here, Arizona will go Trump, Georgia to Harris, Michigan to Harris, Nevada to Harris, North Carolina to Harris, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin to Harris. So he sees, just like you do, as the
He's
only.
He's been copying me. I'm glad that he's
listening. He cheated off your.
He's been
off
copying
your
me.
And he thinks, of course, Harris is going to win the presidency. I don't want to put my predictions in graphic because when I filled them out the other day, I've changed them a little bit. I do think Florida is going to be a lot closer than we think, and that the polling.
I agree with him. I had Florida going to Trump by 50. It turns out that I was wrong. He only won it by 13. I guess I thought it was going to be way further in Trump's favor. So both of us got that one wrong, man. I'm with you.
It told us in two.
Let's go! Election
Let's
day
go!
on the Young Turks. So Kentucky's been called for Donald Trump. Okay, so not surprising. That was Indiana and Kentucky were the first states to close. Those will not be closed, so hence Kentucky gets called immediately.
He's his own worst enemy, man. Like he really is. It's 100%. Almost like sometimes his behavior really does lead one to think like, is he trying to lose? Like what's going on here? And honestly, today in particular,
that was Cenk's TDR prediction.
A lot of his comments and a lot of his behavior today is just like
unhinged.
Yeah, I was about to say unhinged.
Yeah. So for Florida, we're now at 42% of the vote in. Trump has a 5-point advantage. Again, we're not in the territory of really being able to interpret that much.
But,
we can start to focus on counties at some point, but
I just want to be clear. The polls close in Florida at 8 o'clock. So they haven't closed yet. So I'm not exactly sure what they're reporting. So all they're trying to do is get the polling average to show Trump is the winner so they can cry later. It's absurd. It's so silly. So that's why I'm confounded why both sides are so confident they're going to win. They obviously both can't be right. And I think they're both massively overconfident.
Well, there was a lot of excitement over what I think is an outlier poll, and that was the was it Seltzer poll?
That's the Iowa poll.
Yeah, the Iowa poll. So, do you see that as an outlier, or do you think that's
no, not necessarily? But then because she has a poll that's usually very reliable. She got one election wrong, but her track record is really good in getting almost all the elections right, and usually within a point or two. So she's one of the more reliable pollsters.
So obviously we're curious about some things that could indicate that stuff is going to be better for Harris than we thought it might be. So in Florida, for instance, right now we're at 64%. So there's still a lot of the vote to come in. But what I've been doing is looking at the results that we do have for some of the relatively blue counties and comparing it to the share of the vote that Biden got in 2020. And it seems like in most of them, Harris is doing like a point or two worse than Biden in these individual counties.
She actually did far worse.
Once again, getting back to, I don't know. And guys, if you've never watched the Young Turks, I love knowing ahead of time. I love predicting. And here throughout, I've said no prediction.
Is that right, Cenk? Is that why you barely were able to predict? You just said, I don't know. It's too close. That's why how much you love predicting. And then you came in with your forced effort.
Because there's just not enough information. The predictions don't come out of thin air. I'm not a Swami. I can't read the future.
That's for sure.
I'm just telling you my analysis of the information. West Virginia has been called. Jill Stein. Okay. No, of course, Donald Trump has won West Virginia, unfortunately.
In North Carolina, Harris is at 68% of the vote, which is only 2% of the total. But You know, that could be an indicative 2%, so that's something.
It's my favorite
Keep
part
smiling.
of election coverage. When there's 3% of the precincts reporting. And
fictional momentum, I think, is the best kind of momentum,
Is
I
it?
think.
Is
But
it?
anyway.
Best kind, not real,
So,
just fictional.
As you look
Good
at those
joke.
North Carolina numbers on the screen there, it looks kind of beautiful. But so, of course, the 2% doesn't mean anything yet. Two things. According to some of the polling that we saw, Harris was winning the undecideds by 11% as they were coming in. That would be critical, right? So that is real momentum, especially in the last 5 days.
Baby.
Trump butchered this election
Completely.
Like, I have a theory that he was almost subconsciously, not consciously, but subconsciously, almost trying to throw the election. I mean, every
Yeah, of course, because the Democrats are gonna send him to jail if he lost the frickin' election. That's why he was subconsciously trying to lose it, because his whole life he's never committed a crime that he's been found guilty of or even been in court over, and he wants to go to jail in his last years of life. Completely, Cenk.
Easy thing he could say he said at the end, and that was driving away voters in big droves. But
counties that can count it much quicker.
I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's because you voted for Trump.
America, I'm going to read these.
Sure.
Somewhat.
I guess we're hokey or naive that we generally think it's good when everyone votes, and we want everyone to vote. We want it to be easy.
You want your opponents to vote, I'm sure. Totally. You want to make it easy. You want to make it easy for illegal aliens to vote, no doubt. Of course, because they're entitled to vote the same way that they're trying to get that across the finish line in New York and set a precedent that they can distill over the rest of the nation.
A full day off. Everybody should get a day off to vote. They should also not have to wait until the day of. Everyone should be able to vote early by mail. It should be a national thing. Oklahoma went to Trump, as of course it would. He also, and this is not a swing state, but there had been hopes perhaps that some sort of landslide could lead to her winning it. But Trump has won Florida, which is unfortunate after all they went through during the pandemic, that they'd want him in charge once again, but that's what they're deciding to do.
How about what Californians went through during the pandemic, where the state was shut down for such a long time, where kids didn't go to school for 2 years, where businesses were forced to close, but Walmart was allowed to stay open, where churches were forcibly closed down, and they actually put agents and tried to take a church down that was saying that they can have whoever they want on their private property. I'm directionally correct in that. Where they arrest a paddleboarder for being off the coast when it was illegal, when he's hundreds of meters away from anybody and probably the safest person in the world at that moment against the spread of COVID, the disease. So you want to talk about what Florida went through the pandemic? No, it should be Florida that should be completely reversing their vote against the team blue that is shut down the whole nation.
I don't know.
Yeah, so
Sorry
look,
for the rant.
real quick on that. Florida is huge. So the fact that Trump has won it is not surprising, but Michael Schur this morning was a little bit hopeful about Florida, and so the fact that it's called instantly is not good news. Trump was very, very likely going to win it, but if he won it big, it's it is what it is. And so don't get too depressed about it either, because he was supposed to win it. Senator, in my opinion, the Florida Democratic Party is the most incompetent party I have ever seen.
No. It's actually the fact that the Republican Party is incredibly competent under Ron DeSantis. And boy, does he have backup. He has Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, and Pam Bondi, the former Florida AG, is now the U.S. Attorney for all of America. So it's the fact that the Florida Republicans are actually really, really good.
Bunch of incompetent idiots that run that party.
There you go, Cenk.
And run it into the ground
projecting
and have destroyed
how you feel inside
the Democratic Party in Florida.
I'm quite comfortable making bomb threats over the past few years. You also have Trump having tweeted a couple times things like, Philadelphia and Detroit, heavy law enforcement is there. Totally made up. That there was fraud that needed law enforcement is made up. That
the whole purpose of that is to dissuade people that might be considering committing fraud by letting them know that their eyes are on it. Not necessarily stating emphatically fraud or no fraud. It is a warning for those and a disincentive for those considering committing it.
There is law enforcement is made up, but if he believes that a certain type of voter would be scared away from voting by the presence of a bunch of cops, that's what he's doing to attempt to put his thumb on the scale in a racist fashion.
Oh, of course
by the
it's
way,
racist,
we do
right?
have, as of right now, 37%.
Standing against fraud is racist. I'm so glad that everything that Team Blue does to equate racism with virtually every action on the planet.
Of Georgia's results in, and Trump right now is up 57-43. And maybe for this discussion, I should also point out that we don't have all of the Florida results, but it does look like Trump might be outperforming the final Florida polling that I saw by a bit.
That is troubling.
Good news.
Okay,
no, not troubling. Good news.
Rashad,
Good
as
news.
you look at that 57-43 in Georgia, obviously there's early voting in there. It's a mess, so it's not really indicative necessarily. But with a decent percentage reporting in, does that make you worry at all?
Not yet, and I'm going to tell you why.
Kamala Harris's team has bragged endlessly about how good their canvassing is, their ground game is, their grassroots strategy. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if that was true or not. I am definitely worried about those Florida results.
Of the counties that I've looked at, she appears to be outperforming Joe Biden.
Oh, thank God.
In those. Again, it's early.
Where?
Don't come at me if it doesn't turn out that way. But
and this is why we call you fake news. Kamala Harris did not outperform Joe Biden in a single county, I don't believe. Maybe one in Washington or something. Maybe one other.
And we told you it in Florida when it was the opposite, that she was underperforming Biden in those areas. And so this could be a good sign, just as that was a bad sign that also seems to have been predictive.
Yeah, keep flip-flopping, keep playing with our emotions and taking us from one side of the extreme to the other. Or you're just fake news and don't know what you're talking about.
And so
basically threatening young males, and MAGA's like, yeah. Okay, wait, that's not a yeah. Okay, I look, I don't want to overhype it. I get it. It's like tough guy lingo. Oh yeah, but I've always been amused by it. Right? I'm so tough. I'm going to have gay sex with you. Okay, all right. I mean,
he also said that
what are you talking about?
For sex and
I'm very confused.
Implying that he would have sex with them and then cannibalize them.
Well, he seems like a swell guy. Puts money out of politics, higher minimum wage, etc. So
Harris wins South Dakota.
No, that's not correct. Harris has not won South Dakota. So that's just a slip up there. So I didn't see the numbers, but I can tell you she didn't win South Dakota. Okay, so all right,
it's
Michael.
Close. It's close.
No, it's not, and it won't be.
Florida has overperformed for Trump, certainly, and it's overperformed here in these ballot measures that had polled a little differently than this.
Okay, so I want to ask you something.
This hair looks so terrible.
So now when I go to Miami, I can't get high. Thanks a lot. Right? But you got 57, 58% of...
Oh my God, I can't get high in Miami. I'm sure you'd find a way.
Florida right now, as things stand, saying, we're pro-choice. We want abortion to be legal here. And the Republicans of Florida are going, I don't give a damn what you want. Okay, maybe I'll move it up to 80% or 98%. I don't want you to have a voice. That's why we're anti-choice in the first place. So now you want me to give you choice in the ballot box? I'm not going to give you any choice. Okay?
No,
I'm
sir.
not going to give you any choice over your body either.
Especially when it comes to the COVID vaccine. Then you're mandated to take it. But, my body, my choice.
So that's what's happening in Florida.
Yeah, and also, there have been a lot.
So, Michael, I wanted to see if you were about Florida, since you and I talked in the morning about how Florida you were a little bit hopeful about. Given that it came in very poorly, does that make you worried about the overall election?
Not at all. I don't see that as sort of a blueprint for other states necessarily. I mean, anything. Nope. And so I'm not surprised. I don't see.
But you said it was going to be much closer, and maybe that she could even win Florida. But at least it was going to be much closer than people believed, and it was going to set the stage for the rest of the states to come in as a landslide for Kamala.
It as kind of saying, oh, this happened in Florida, that's going to happen in another state as well. I don't see that. I mean,
I can give you numbers on that. So I did just check that. Ted Cruz is up by 2.3 points right now, about half the lead that Trump currently has over Harris in Texas. And at some point, if you do want to talk about issues, we also have some exit polling data that's interesting.
So I want to dive more into the numbers because Trump's taking the lead in North Carolina. Guy wrote in, Anna got hotter when she became a conservative. Here for the meltdown.
I'm not conservative.
She's not conservative, and
yeah, but she voted for Trump. I'm pretty damn sure.
Neither here nor there.
I mean, a bit of a glow up. I mean, I'm kidding. I do look the same.
Okay, I think I got hotter. No,
Cenk, not one bit.
We're in the honesty business, so I didn't. Again, I gave a shout out to, and any victory we get tonight is because of good people like you.
Good people.
Thank you, William. Thank you to your friend. And it's the people that are doing the door knocking, et cetera, that are making the big difference. So
Definitely.
appreciate them a lot.
Definitely.
But right now, I'm getting a vibe that is not good.
I'm getting a good one, though. Why are they different? Maybe we're rooting for different people.
Either positive or negative news. But please pull up North Carolina, John.
Okay.
So let's go to North Carolina.
North Carolina right now has only 1 out of 4 votes in, and Trump is up 54.
Remember when you were glowing when it was at 3% and Kamala was winning handily?
To 45.1 at this point. I can dive in, I will in the next few minutes, into some of the areas compared to how Biden was doing. It's hard to say with only a quarter of the vote in, where he's going to go. The polls were very close.
So,
but I can also add though, Trump did spend like the last 3 days he made appearances in North Carolina, so it is clearly a state
but he ran a terrible
that they
campaign.
were worried about. They put resources in the last week into it.
Yeah. So, guys, at 25%, you really can't read too much into it.
Thank God.
But like, if those numbers were to end that way, then Trump's going to win the election because that's such a big win in North Carolina.
True.
He'll have won the other states as well, is my guess. But right, it's not going to end that way. And it doesn't mean that, I know for sure Kamala Harris is going to do better. I'm just saying it's only 25% of the vote that's in.
So it's obviously there's a while to go still in North Carolina.
Yeah, and in some of the states.
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania right now, we have an even smaller share of the vote, only 13% in. Harris is up 67-32, which I imagine is how this will probably end up. I'm kidding, obviously. So we don't know. Now, as I have found that she is up over Biden's result in basically all of these counties.
Ooh, that's good.
The same as in Florida? Again, the same as in Florida? The same thing that you told us in Florida? I don't know about you.
That might be the mirage that we're talking about.
Mm.
So, and we can be more confident about the mirage as we get more of the vote, but we're in very early numbers so far.
No, but hold on. So part of the reason I pulled up Pennsylvania is if for the Trump voters and supporters, see there Kamala Harris is a huge lead with only 13% reporting. That doesn't mean she's going to win Pennsylvania because big Trump counties can come in later and will come in later, and that race will be way, way tighter than 67-33. So don't take the early results as any kind of indication. Once it's an indication, we'll tell you. Right? Once you get over 50%, that's an indication. And then there are other factors involved. But so that's the mirage we're talking about. But John, her outperforming in the counties vis-a-vis Biden, I don't think that's part of the mirage. I think that's just But
so in Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh is, right now we have 37% of the vote in. Harris is at 70%. Biden got in 2020 59.7%. So she's up by 10.3 points to give. So
that's very.
We can't say for sure, but the differences are different depending on the county. But she seems to be outperforming in all of them, because Trump seems to be overperforming on average in rural counties by about 1 point, which doesn't seem huge. But remember, Georgia was super tight. He only needed 10,000 votes to be found after all.
11,000.
11,000, 42. But in some he's overperforming by more. Harris is underperforming Biden in some, but in some of the areas around Atlanta, she's outperforming him.
She underperformed in every single county, just about, as I stated earlier.
And so I don't see the same overall trend that I'm seeing in Pennsylvania and Georgia. It's more divergent there.
How are you feeling right now? Do you have a sense of the race and how it's going to end up?
I mean, Cenk, I still think it's 50-50. I mean, as we
still
stand
think it's
now,
50-50.
It's a little bit after 9 on the East Coast.
I got a real deep voice for a woman.
Donald J. Trump is up in the Electoral College. I mean, he's well over 100 at this point.
Or somebody presenting as a woman with those big, crazy-ass glasses. Do you ever see somebody that is on the conservative side of the aisle wearing glasses like that? Pretty rare.
I wrote it down somewhere, but however. So, yeah, I still feel like it's 50-50. Yeah. It's still very early in some of the battleground states. They can't even call them yet.
But as it turns out, just as you're on here, Ohio has been called. So Trump has won Ohio.
Well, I knew he was going to win Ohio.
I knew he was going to win Ohio.
Yeah, so it's not surprising. Ohio used to be a swing state. Unfortunately, it's not anymore. It's largely
ruby red.
Yeah, it's largely red nowadays. So it was not expected to go any differently. So doesn't affect the chance of who wins or not. But let's talk about other things. In fact, as we were talking, Texas has been called for Donald Trump. So again, not the important race there because we already had that in Trump's column right now. Not over, but it looks good for him.
And right now that puts him at 177 votes in the Electoral College to Harris's 99. And I am hearing that Trump is calling to stop the count.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're joking, but are you?
Sorry, it's a couple hours off. He'll get to it soon. Don't worry.
John, don't do that. Don't tease the people.
John, don't do that. Don't tease me like that.
Because it's totally possible. I know. The Trump team was saying that they were going to declare victory before all the results were in. To which I replied in my office, of course!
The famous line, Cenk's famous line, of course!
And this is much more, that's already concerning. You shouldn't do that. And that's why people don't trust Donald Trump. But he was also reporting that House Republicans might not certify the election if Trump loses.
They just sent me a text and says an NBC News exit poll in the state of Wisconsin shows that Trump has doubled his support among Black voters in the state. Now, it's just
You can just say that they ain't Black. If you don't vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, you ain't Black.
Exit poll before our viewers. However, wow. It shouldn't be this close. I mean,
it shouldn't be this close. I agree. I agree with Nina Turner. It should not be this close. I don't know how anybody could have voted for Kamala Harris outside of the military-industrial complex, the trans community, who obviously want their surgeries funded by the public. And of course, that includes the medical community that serves them, who are grifting from the taxpayers, and those who are brain dead and firmly entrenched in Antifa and the left. Those are the people that I excuse for voting for Kamala. But really, I think it should have been a 99% electoral win for Donald Trump.
Well, it shouldn't be this close, but clearly
it shouldn't. I agree, guys. Like I just said,
it did look close going into this election too, and whether or not it should or shouldn't, I don't think there's much of a surprise. I mean, nothing has floored me. And again, as this goes on, there's still that blue wall, and
we still got
for
the blue
Democrats
wall.
who are watching
in every single leftist election coverage, they've pinned their hopes on the blue wall. They retreat to behind the blue wall. The blue wall will save us from the invasive Trump.
and are worried about North Carolina and worried about Georgia, places where there was promise and remains promise, certainly in Georgia. That's what was expected today. The blue wall is supposed to carry Harris. And
so this election, this night has been a microcosm of the entire election, because I have gone back and forth. Oh, I think Kamala might win. I think Trump might win. Kamala might win. Trump might win. So yeah, all she has to do is hold the blue wall. That is true. But some of the news here, not great in my opinion.
But I guess it is now fairly definitive that in Florida, both the marijuana legalization and abortion rights ballot measures have failed, like votes in the Senate fail.
No. They failed because they failed according to the rules of the electorate. Despite the fact that Florida requires 60% to vote for such a proposition, they still failed.
They had majority support, but the majority doesn't matter because the Republicans are anti-democracy. So overall,
we're anti-democracy. Oh, yeah, of course, says the party that, once again, I stated, has not had a fair primary in the last 3 election cycles.
Really bad day for freedom in Florida. You don't
really
have freedom to control what substances you put in your body, and you don't have control over your body either.
Unless it's a COVID vaccine, in which case the state has control over you.
You're conservative and you say, oh, of course women shouldn't be able to control their bodies, and because God said so. Although
they have control over their bodies, just not another living being that exists inside of them.
He didn't read the Bible. And of course, you shouldn't be allowed to have smoke marijuana. The tyrannical government should decide what you put in your body or not. Okay, but you're for big government. Just own up to it. And you're also against democracy. So, all right.
That's an example, Cenk, of rigging it. I mean, he rigs it. You want to talk about rigging? That's exactly what
you talking about. Rigging? We talking about rigging. You remember Allen Iverson? We talking about practice. the famed basketball player. We talking about practice. I bust my ass every day in the game.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We talking about practice, man.
We talking about rigging. He's rigging it.
So look, guys, right now, election is still 50-50. But if the Democrats wind up losing, both progressives and the MAGA are going to want to hear what I have to say. Because it isn't going to be being mad at Trump or being sad. And, you know, that was a misnomer about 2016. I wasn't sad at all. As Ida Rodriguez points out all the time, I was mad. And
You're
I was
always
mad at the
Cenk.
Democratic Party.
That's
and
your
so
nature.
Here we are again in a 50-50 race with a guy that I view to be a syphilitic clown. So
Syphilitic
great
clown.
job, Democratic Party. You got us on pins and needles. Can you beat an utter moron?
Oh, yes, the utter moron that's been successful in every facet of his life. New York real estate, which is cutthroat to the max. The Apprentice, the show that got tremendous ratings, and winning the presidency the first time, probably the second time, and now a third time.
Did a coup attempt against America.
Oh,
And
a
you
coup.
guys
It
were
was a coup,
50-50.
right?
But I'll say,
go peacefully and patriotically and make your voices heard.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
do that for later in the night.
That they won't learn any lessons from this. We know that Trump is
We
a
just too
neo-fascist, and we know neoliberals are in full control.
Look, we just too stupid. That's the problem. Trump a neo-fascist. We just too stupid.
Even if you squeak out a victory in the blue wall, I know Democrats, they'll learn no lesson at all. In fact, they'll learn the opposite lesson. They'll be like, nailed it. Our answer going forward is more Cheneys. And Kamala Harris will almost certainly put Liz Cheney in the cabinet, and they'll celebrate and think that they're the champions of the world. If you think Donald Trump tried to destroy democracy,
he didn't.
And you're in the Democratic leadership, and you barely beat him, that is not like something to go right home about and brag about. And if you lose to him, but that's the thing, you know, they're never going to learn a lesson. They're interested in only one thing: the money, Lebowski. Okay, so they're just going to go straight to the donor class anyway. They're never, ever, ever going to learn. You have to beat them in a primary. There is no convincing people who are crack addicts. Okay, in this case, the thing that they're addicted to is not drugs. They're addicted to money. All they care is get as much money as possible. So the lesson they're going to learn is raise more donor money so they can have larger mansions. You have to beat them in primaries, and in order to
this is great. Cenk's already melting down.
Do that, you have to get past the monstrous mainstream media that will lie about you and smear you 2,000 times over. Well, but we'll get to that later in the night.
Look at what they did to Trump.
So important here with the amount of votes in. I'm coming to conclusions. Let's go to Georgia.
I'm coming to conclusions.
Okay, Georgia first. Both are still quite tight. I mean, he's up by 5 points in Georgia. We've still got a quarter of the vote to come in. It is leaning towards him. We've been going county to county. He's up in some, she's up in others. We don't know until the final votes come in. But he is definitely.
But we know.
Look, if you had to put money on these two states, you would assume that he would win both of these states at this point.
Great. You can tell me the result of the game after it's already been played. When the Eagles are up 24-0, you can safely conclude that they might win. You might want to put your money on the Eagles, but you didn't tell me that before the game now, did you?
Yeah, no, North Carolina is less clear. I want to go to that next. Georgia, I'm almost done with.
I wouldn't be done with Georgia.
But he's got a 5-point lead with only a quarter left.
A quarter, but you don't know where those votes come from. It's not about 100%. It's about where those votes are. There's suburban and exurban counties in Georgia that they're waiting on. Looking, for example, North Carolina, Donald Trump's up 3% right now. Does it look good for the Democrats? Does it look good for Kamala Harris? No, but you go to Charlotte, which is, I would say it leans to the Republicans, but I don't think looking at this just because the sheer numbers of the percentage of the vote, 55% of the vote is only in there.
Yeah, so let me keep it real with both sides. So Michael's
keep
right
it real,
about that.
Cenk.
So first of all, with the Democrats, with 76% reporting in, it's getting narrower and narrower. You can't have it go much past 5%, in my opinion. Okay, so you have to be real about that. It doesn't mean they're stealing
Keep
anything.
it real,
It just
Cenk.
means it takes longer to count when there's more people.
But Fulton is, a lot of Fulton is in. But and so you look at Fulton County right now, 84% is in, and that's
okay. I'm
3 to
back
1.
to Trump's almost definitely going to win Georgia. Then, if 84% of Fulton County is in,
We talking about rigging it, right, Nina?
and he is a 5-point lead. That doesn't look good. And 3% is very overcomable, and it depends on the counties that are outstanding. So North Carolina is still in play. And as we go to the break here, remember, guys, North Carolina is critical because if Kamala Harris loses Pennsylvania, she has to win North Carolina and Nevada. So if she loses North Carolina, then there is no backup plan to Pennsylvania. And that means Pennsylvania becomes a must-win. And that's assuming she wins Michigan and Wisconsin.
Right, and except you look at Iowa right now. That was where we've talked about this highly touted Seltzer poll. Very small percentage of the vote in. Harris is up by 13%.
She gonna win. She gonna win. It ain't rigged for Trumpy. Nuh-uh.
There, but a small percentage of the vote. But these are the things you have to look for on election night. There are going to be some surprises. There always are, and we'll see. I mean, to me,
you're seeing on the screen there now a significant percentage reporting in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and they're both tied. It's a dead heat in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Whoever wins that blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, is going to win the election. And right now, it could go either way, as expected, well, only by us. The two sides that thought it was going to be a blowout. As it turns out, not a blowout. As we expected and told you guys, it is as close as it could possibly be.
Thank you.
Thank God that you are right about everything, Cenk. All y'all are right about everything. Now you're backing up from your election predictions of some of your hosts that it's going to be a blowout. Kamala in a landslide.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Florida's going to be closer.
Hi, happy to be here on this very exciting election night. I've been watching some of the coverage, and it's been a roller coaster so far.
Yeah, so
Not really.
Look,
just
I'll
all downhill
start
for you
with,
guys.
You know, what's your temperature on the direction the election's going in so far?
Nothing terribly surprising yet. A lot of the early calls, I think, were to be expected. I know that we're keeping an eye on Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and North Carolina. So
what's this? An attractive leftist woman? She actually is pretty. I'm shocked.
We'll see. Still fingers crossed. Anything can happen at this point.
That's why I think like emotionally I'm fine right now, because as much as I wanted to get rid of Ted Cruz, as much as I thought we might have a chance at this time, I emotionally was prepared to be disappointed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean,
and around these parts, there is a lot of fear and there is a lot of Jesus coming from the conservative side, and that's just from me talking to people. Right? There's a lot of fear and a lot of Jesus. Jesus is big.
Yeah, I'd be fearful of Kamala Harris exercising control over the United States and our military. I'd be very fearful of that. I'd be very fearful as somebody who worships the First Amendment and would be serving back-to-back life sentences in Germany, where you go to jail for insulting somebody. Because of all the little snide remarks I've made in this video, I'd be in German prison.
Jesus is a reason why they're voting the way they're voting for women's health care rights. And it's the way that they're voting for Trump.
Because we care about unborn children?
They think that he really is here to usher in a new era of America, and it's supposed to be a more Christian America. And it's really kind of scary how many people have actually said those words, You know
what? I did not grow up religious. My dad is was an avowed atheist, and a theoretical physicist who only believed in science. And I now absolutely realize the value that a decent religion has in society. And I believe that Christianity binds us together and serves mankind more than any other religion, with Buddhism up there as well.
So Jesus is very much a big part of this election this year. And I find it very disconcerting because I'm not a Christian. But even if I was a Christian, I think that would still be disconcerting for me. And I know a lot of Christians or people who identify as Christians here in this country are not voting for Trump. So I can't imagine what it's like for them.
Well, I mean, good point about, people who believe in Christianity, identify as Christians, not wanting to vote for Trump for various reasons. But
and I know we also are watching what's been happening in Florida. That is very disappointing with specifically talking about their abortion addendum and how that went for them. It's very disappointing, but
sure. I think he is better protected from the consequences of what he says and does than any other politician in living memory.
Because you want to know why? It's because the media has lied about him continuously. So at this point, he could say anything, and I would guarantee that the media took it out of context because that's all they've done, and they did it intentionally. So it's the boy who cried wolf. So yes, at this point, Trump is inoculated in our minds because the media tells no truth. Therefore, Trump could, if he wanted to, get away with saying virtually anything, and I would doubt exactly the framing of it.
Media bubble around him. Everybody is better protected from the truth and facts than ever before. It's hard to imagine what Harris would say that would get through the layers of Jesse Waters, Sean Hannity, all of that stuff. They still
maybe if she could complete a single sentence.
Have to try. They have to, and there are some Democrats that do a good job of going on there, but
All right, back on the Young Turks. Farron, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
All right, great. So, guys, let's go to North Carolina right away. I want to go to results.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for just about 1/4 of the vote to come in, but at 76%, he is up by now 7 points. And so that is looking less and less likely to flip at this point. I would say very unlikely.
Just say it's over.
Decision desk has already called it. So
not the New York Times. But.
Yeah.
Rely on
that. Let's do a poll now, right here, live on the chat too. Who's going to win, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? But North Carolina is in deep trouble. So if it's not gone, as Decision Desk says, it's close to gone. So that puts us in a very perilous spot.
Victory is
so
ours.
If you do the math, Arizona and Nevada are not enough. She's got to win the entire blue wall. Without North Carolina,
she got a chance.
And Georgia
Keep my
doesn't
hope
look
alive.
likely either. We'll go there right now. Now, having said that, what percentage is reporting in North Carolina? 76% reporting you're down by 7. You're in a world of trouble. You're yes, it matters which counties, but you're still in a world of trouble. And so much trouble that one of the organizations has already called it. Okay, now let's go to Georgia.
By the way, Iowa has been called by CNN at least for Trump.
Iowa called for Trump, so there goes that nonsense.
Remember how they were extolling Ann Seltzer's poll, saying that it was going to spread to the rest of the nation like COVID would? They got that one wrong, didn't they? Boy, oh boy, that's what happens when you believe that crap.
I'm gonna I'm getting revved up here on a significant
good.
So, because Kamala Harris is not winning, and the people who thought that Kamala Harris was going to win a landslide are totally wrong.
Totally wrong, totally stupid, etc.
A ton of people who thought that. I mean,
almost every Democrat I talked to thought that.
Well,
including you, a-hole.
I said the blue wall is going to go to Harris, and maybe wrong.
You said a lot more than that.
Honestly, I don't think that there were a lot of people. There were people who said if it's a landslide, they would predict that it was a Harris landslide, not a Trump landslide, which is different than saying they were predicting it's a landslide.
Okay. No. Now you're walking back your own words.
We'll get to that. We'll get to the discussion of the terms of landslide or big win or whatever. But no matter how you slice it, big win for Kamala Harris. Poof, gone. That's not going to happen. A big win for Donald Trump is still on the board. A win for Kamala Harris is still on the board. Let's go to Georgia.
Not really.
Okay, so in Georgia, we're theoretically closer to a call, even though it is a tighter race. So he's up by 3 points right now. The issue is that there's only 9% of the vote left to be counted, and so it is quite likely at this point that he will end up winning that. It is tighter than it was earlier in the count.
So more counties are coming in favor of Kamala Harris.
YMCA.
91% reporting.
YMCA.
You really got 3%'s not undoable. It's not undoable with that tight a window, but that window is getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
It is that's a big number, Gwinnett County, but it's going, about 3-2 for Harris, and that 3-2 is across a big population, which is why again there's no call yet in Georgia.
Right? Unless, of course, you're Donald Trump. If Kamala Harris loses and she was the state of Georgia and she's like Donald Trump, she'd call up Raffensperger and go, "Why don't you just find me the votes I need? Who cares? Just find me the votes." Right?
Come on, Jake, Meltdown.
Democrats don't cheat like that. So Democrats do.
Really? What about the Hunter Biden laptop? that was guaranteeing rigging the election, not allowing that to be disseminated on social media, and saying that it had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Liars, liars, liars.
Other things that are problematic, but they don't cheat like that. Only the world's biggest cheater in the world, Donald Trump, does that.
Oh yeah, Donald Trump cheated his way to election win in 2020. Oh wait, it was the Dems that did that.
So
how the graveyard
I'm getting
votes.
revved up. Let's go to the blue states. Let's go to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so Pennsylvania's at 57. They're all toss-ups currently at this point, but he's at 51 to her 48. With Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan are very tight. Wisconsin and Michigan are tighter than Pennsylvania.
So Pennsylvania, he's got a 3-point lead. Again, if he wins Pennsylvania, good night, Irene. This election's over.
Well, that is definitely true. So right now
Who's
he's up by,
Irene?
I believe, about like 110,000 votes. Chris Wallace is saying that at this point in 2020, he was up by 200,000. That's an interesting factoid. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's.
But they counted all the mail-in ballots, to the best of my understanding, late in 2020, whereas this time there were greater restrictions on them, making it harder to sneak all those uncreased pre-signed ballots in that won't undergo signature verification into the pile.
It's going to come back in the way that Biden did.
In 2020, Trump was up by 200,000.
At this point in the night.
So you can still win, guys. Keep the
Nate
faith.
Silver switched to Kamala Harris being the favorite.
When?
What in the world? So that apparently happened.
Nate Silver, another person that should lose all credibility in the minds of the public.
That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it was earlier in the day, so I didn't get a sense of the timing. All right, so
Wisconsin is at 55% of the vote. He's up by 1 point, so it's 50 to 49.
Okay, that could go either direction.
So super close. Michigan's only at 25% of the vote. He's up by 0.7% of the vote.
Okay, could go either way. All right, Farron, what do you make of all this right now?
We all knew this was going to be a tight race, and I do think it ended up actually being tighter so far than what a lot of people thought. I don't want to say it's reminiscent of 2016, but wow.
Because it hurts. Because it freaking hurts, right?
How it feels reminiscent of 2016 with everybody going in, maybe with a little too much optimism. Democrats got absolutely slaughtered down here in Florida tonight.
Farron, they got slaughtered in Dade County in ways that they hadn't in Dade County. Florida is a deep red state now. It's not just a red state.
So it is. And
the whole country should be going
Farron,
red.
Look,
I don't even care about the Republicans. I'm so anti-team blue that I am actively rooting for that party to be absolutely destroyed by the woke, and that the embers that we can step our feet in them and warm them, because that is how I see the party, just pure evil at this point.
I know what the problem is. So I was very uncertain about this election. It turns out I was right to be uncertain.
You were right.
I think
predicted
everybody
Kamala.
was full of crap. There's no landslide in either direction. Everybody was in their
No, it's a landslide. It's just in Trump's direction.
Delusional bubble.
Because they really seem to like the idea that Ron DeSantis let people die instead of protecting them during.
Yeah, we have to. How about just giving people the option and telling them that this is potentially fatal disease and letting them decide for themselves whether or not they go outside and let the rest of us live our lives. These are the same people that are saying that freedom has died in Florida because they aren't allowing abortions in the 9th or 8th month. These are the same people that are saying this, and they don't believe in liberty. They don't believe in personal decision making. They only believe in their ideology.
The height of the pandemic, they said, yes, that looks like fun. So they came down here.
Pussies.
And, it worked well for the Republicans. I guess Ron DeSantis's big gamble with our lives paid off for them.
Our lives.
Didn't work too well for, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
How about all those children in California that lost 2 years of schooling and are going to go through life without knowledge or the practice of studying or friends that they were able to associate with because Gavin Newsom shut down the state? You don't think that that's toying with people's lives over a man-made disease?
Thousands of Floridians who died of COVID, but all of this
guy
massive
should just
shift
be thrown.
All took place post-COVID.
So appreciate everybody voting. We already got 23,000 votes on Trump and Kamala Harris. And guys, I don't know if it's the numbers or if it's the way we're talking, but or if it's conservatives that are voting. But 85-15, Donald Trump, they think, is more likely to win, and now it's up 27,000 votes. Okay.
Surely scientific.
No, of course it's not scientific. Of course.
Oh my
no, what that
God.
shows you is the sentiment of the
Keep
people
coping.
watching, right? Yeah, and so what percentage reporting in North Carolina?
I believe it's like 85, 87%.
Okay, all right. Back in it in North Carolina.
86, yeah.
Okay, because
right.
closing 3% with 14% left to go to report, doable. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'd rather be on the
unlikely.
Yeah, I'd rather be on the other end of it, but it's not undoable.
Sure.
So okay, so that's not bad. All right. So again, we come back to the blue wall again. Kamala Harris still has plenty chance to win.
Yeah, you have to understand too. There's not one state, I don't believe, that Donald Trump is winning or has won tonight that he didn't win in 2020 and he lost the presidency. So
Georgia,
that does matter here. I mean, we're still
Georgia.
looking at a map that is has some fluidity.
Y'all call
to it.
Georgia.
It doesn't look great.
But guys, this is definitely not a call. But if you made me guess right now who's going to win, Trump. And not only because he's leading in those states.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me after the Eagles were up 24-0.
It's by a little bit, but Virginia is deeply concerning. Can you pull up Virginia? So when I was on break, I noticed Virginia, and that's where I was going to go next. And the fact that it isn't called yet when it was supposed to be solidly blue, or solidly blue enough that it would have been called by now, is very problematic. So that is very bad news.
But these numbers are not as big as they were for Joe Biden in 2020 in those parts of the state.
Yeah. So look, I've been 50-50 on who's going to win for the last 2 months or so, maybe even longer. And I've been 50-50 the entire day, the entire night. I am no longer 50-50. I think Trump has at least a 75% chance of winning at this point. So
I don't know where you get that, but okay.
I'm getting it from my experience.
I don't know where you get that. We're looking at the results dead in your eye, and you're telling me that.
Elections.
Man,
I know.
So you're losing. So you're barely winning in Virginia. You're losing in all of your blue wall states. And yes, you can come back. But look at the trend, Michael. I mean, if it was like spotty,
right.
okay, you say
this
spotty.
is where we were in 2020. We knew it was going to be a close election. You were right
weren't.
this morning. Yeah, it basically is where we were. There's no state that has been called for the Republican that at this point that it wasn't called for the Republican last time. I mean, yes, it's tenuous in North Carolina, a state that he won. It's tenuous in Georgia, a state that Joe Biden won. It's more tenuous in Arizona, right? But Trump up by very little bit. Going into today, we talked about it. You said this is a close election. I have no idea how to predict it. I said I'd rather be the Democrat because I'm playing a home game. I'm playing in Michigan.
You said it was going to be a pretty big win for Kamala and that Florida was going to be close. I don't know about you, man. You seem dishonest. You seem like you're walking back your original prediction.
I'm playing in Wisconsin. I'm playing in Pennsylvania. And if I win those 3 states, which are Democratic states, then I win the race. We still don't know about those states. Doesn't look as good as you wanted it to, but it's. I think to say that it's 75% is slightly arbitrary.
Yeah, it's not arbitrary at all.
Okay.
It's 75%.
I didn't think you would say that. It was 100%.
Yeah.
It was 100% that you were going to say it's not arbitrary.
Yeah, and so guys, look, it's not like I'm shy about my opinions, and it's not like I was certain about anything. I've never been less certain in my life. So when you're trailing in all the states, you're more likely to lose than you are to win. Not rocket science.
But it's not.
No,
it's not linear.
Elon Musk.
Go, Farron. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, right now, when you look at it, because I've got the New York Times page right here. Yeah, right now it looks bad. I mean, anybody who's just tuning in or just now starting to look at results.
Repeat after me. It looks good.
I don't see how you do have optimism at this point, until, of course, you drill down into each of those individual ones. So I do think at this point I'm maybe not 75%, but I'm 60 thinking that I think at this point this is a Trump election. Unfortunately, I don't know.
60% does not mean that it's a Trump election. You are basically hedging. That's what you're doing.
All the numbers are looking way, way worse than what we had, been told they could be. So if she wins, it is going to be such a razor thin popular vote margin. And I don't know that they're going to be able to pull it out at this point. I genuinely don't. I know we got a long time, probably some states we don't even know until tomorrow or after, but yeah, my God, it does not look good right now.
I'm probably somewhere between all of you. I'm in the 68.2%. That's not arbitrary.
That's
I've done
exactly
the
where I
calculations. I would rather be Donald Trump in this case. Of course, in that event, I'd probably end up jumping into a volcano or something like that. But Trump,
you can go ahead and do that just as yourself.
Well, it doesn't look like it's trending in that direction. So let's acknowledge Seltzer, not full of crap. She's been terrific on in other polls, but Seltzer was wrong about Iowa.
Because she was paid, because it was a push poll. There's no chance that a pollster can be off by that much. That was 16 points. And now she's retired. Oh, gee, take the money on the way out. Smart move.
So that big giant
we don't know where
hope.
it's going to finish. There was a margin of error.
Well, she's not going to win by 3.
No.
That's what Seltzer said. And Iowa got called right away. Not right away, but got called, in good order. So right now, the only state where she seems to be doing a little bit better than expected is Arizona. And so if you're only doing better than expected in one state and you're doing worse than expected in all the other states, that's not good news. I'll tell you that.
It's good news.
Complicated.
What are you talking about, Cenk?
So
we have a different. I don't understand why Cenk thinks it's good news, and I think it's good news, and Cenk thinks it's bad news. Oh, we're rooting for different teams. I get it. That's the math.
She can still pull it out. And by the way, Trump people, just because someone is trailing and then they come back and win does not mean cheating. It has happened, I don't know. I feel like I've covered hundreds of elections like that. I'm sure I haven't because it's too many, right? But every election, someone's leading. Then the other person came back. And a lot of the times it's a Republican who came back. It wasn't rigged every time. So please stop listening to the pathological liar, Donald Trump, the baby who cries every.
I'm sorry, what did Trump just lie about right now? Stop listening to, what did he say exactly? Are you coping, buddy?
Every time he loses, right? So if Kamala Harris loses, here's my prediction. She concedes right away, okay? And so whatever the time frame of right away is, that she's not going to be like, no, I won. I don't care what the court say. I don't care. I won. Okay, that is
great impression.
It's about a 0% chance. Only a bitch like Trump does that. So
oh my God, now you're calling him a B word? Christ, imagine if I did that to Kamala, who's far more. Oh wait, you're allowed to do that to men, but not women. Right. And we're the sexist ones.
Keep it real on that. So, okay, but that right now, apparently, I think that there's a 3/4 chance that ridiculous clown of a man is going to be our president for another unbearable 4 years. Thanks a lot.
YMCA.
It hasn't happened yet. We'll get to it. But fair, yeah. Democrats have to, this current batch of Democratic leadership has to be defeated in primaries. There's losers through and through. They'll never learn any lessons.
Just look at the primaries.
This campaign that Kamala Harris ran was insipid. Just a big nothing burger. So, and you look, I don't think Kamala Harris should have.
This is actually very different than the media outlets that said that she ran a flawless campaign, as Joy Reid said, even stating that Queen Latifah endorsed Kamala. And Queen Latifah never endorses anyone, thus meaning that Kamala Harris should win. I don't think that 80% of y'all out there know who Queen Latifah is. Leave it in the comments if you do.
Come on this show. She can't handle this show. She can't handle anything but talking points. But Tim Walz, what are you doing?
That's true.
We had all these we got all excited about Tim Walz. He's a populist guy.
Who did?
He's a guy who's proven that he can get bills passed, got great bills passed in Minnesota. And you don't even want to go on the largest progressive show because they were too busy kissing Liz Cheney's ass. They ran a terrible campaign. So, but if I'm right and Trump wins tonight, well, then you're going to get to see it for 4 awful years. Yep. He's going to violate one promise after another, and it's going to be an epic disaster. And he's going to break a lot of things, but we're not there yet.
It's really, again, he is protected by this massive bubble of media and influencers and the manosphere that stops people from being able to acknowledge
the media is protecting Donald Trump. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The only thing they did was lie about him. CNN was streaming live the one election in the middle of Butler, Pennsylvania, when they shot at him. Do you think that that's random? I don't see how that's possible. Somebody tipped them off that something big was going to happen because somebody knew inside the federal government. The media was protecting Trump. Leave it in the comments if you guys agree. I happen to disagree. Maybe somebody has a different perspective. If you do, then you're not paying attention to MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all election cycle, but leave it in the comments.
Yes.
And they're like, no, we're bigger ass kissers than Fox News.
We keep talking about democracy. Look, if he ends up winning, if he gets more votes, we're not the right. We will acknowledge that actually happened. They can't acknowledge when any of their candidates lose. We don't have that problem.
Also, I just want to say, nobody's won this race yet. It's not.
I know. That's why I'm going back to the numbers in a second. In fact, a little bit of a comeback here in a second for Kamala Harris. So, Donald Trump.
Don't call it a comeback.
Oh, we're for freedom, but he's arresting people who protest. Great, we love it. Take away their freedom, right? Oh, he wants to shoot them in the leg.
Really? What about those abortion protesters that were making statements and in front of a clinic, and the FBI and the DOJ went after them because they were anti-abortion, they were pro-life? What are you talking about?
Yeah, let's shoot protesters. Screw freedom, right? So we'll see. We'll see. My guess, John, go back to North Carolina because here comes Kamala Harris.
Okay, so as
of
what I have right now, with 88% of the vote in, it's still a 3-point race, according to the New York Times.
I saw it close to 2. Did it get any tighter?
Okay, let's see if we can get. I apologize for that. Let's go back. Yes, a lot of this is rounding, and that can hide some of the actual movement. Hold on, we're trying to reload our map here. North
2.7 with 86% reporting.
88%.
88. All right. Not impossible. Not
if
impossible.
It was at 86,
I mean, Mecklenburg. I wouldn't put my money on the vice president there, but it certainly could close. The votes that they're waiting for are mostly from districts and counties that would favor Kamala Harris.
All right. Next CRT reporter says this feels like a red mirage. It could be, and I hope you're right. And what a red mirage is Donald Trump gets more day of voters.
What a red mirage is when they set the public up for the fact that they plan shenanigans after the fact, and thus prepare them for the quote-unquote red mirage as they go ahead and steal it. That is the definition of a red mirage. Textbook. Look it up, just not in Wikipedia.
The Democrats get more mail-in voters, and it takes a while to count the mail-in voters. So it looks like he's got a lead, but then last time Biden closed it because of that phenomenon, and maybe Kamala Harris will close it here, which goes to the point that Michael was making. This is a little bit similar to where we were with Biden. It doesn't feel that way, but I understand that point of view. CB1, okay, so guys, our last poll closed. I'll get you guys final numbers on how it did, but obviously a lot of people thought Trump was winning, but he was ahead by about, he was in the 80s when the poll closed. I didn't know. Live chat, who's gonna win the blue wall, okay?
Yeah, the Senate I've been looking at, and it's not looking terrific right now.
That's what I was going to go to next.
Sherrod Brown with 91% of the vote is down 5%. Well, there you go again.
There you go again. There you go again. Like you're Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. So look, there's a reason why they didn't call it yet, and that reason is what Michael just explained to you. Giant population centers that lean Democrat have not fully come in yet, but it would be very surprising if Brown made up that big a difference with only 9% left. Report.
We
do.
So at least the New York Times is calling North Carolina for Trump.
So that's 2 calls. It's over. North Carolina for Trump. Okay, North Carolina's gone. That is an enormous moment in this election. Enormous.
A nice one.
She must hold the blue wall.
Which we knew coming in. Trump wins North Carolina. I should say wins North Carolina again. This is not a pickup or a switch, but it's a state that the Democrats thought that they had a great deal of hope in this election. They came closer than they have in a while.
No, it was actually much closer last time. Trump barely won North Carolina. This time he extended his lead, as he did in every single state.
Nothing's funny right now, my friend. I think what we're seeing, though, is...
So you sound like you think that it might be over. So, I mean, obviously it's over in North Carolina, your home state. I don't know how the consulting class gets fired. they're apparently impervious to being fired. They could lose to Ronald McDonald, and then they'd still get rehired by these idiot Democrats. But from your mouth to God's ears, they should clean house. They should fire everyone.
NBC News has called the Ohio Senate race for Bernie Moreno, who known.
I bet $900 something on that race in the Republican Bernie Moreno's favor. Very happy with that result.
For saying that women over 50 shouldn't care about abortion, but he's beaten Sherrod Brown, which marks the end of an era in the Senate. It was a long Senate career.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so the wrong Bernie won tonight.
The right Bernie won.
I'm getting in a angrier mood as the night goes on, which is unsurprising.
Good.
So, okay. There's almost no honest Democratic politicians.
That's true.
It's all me. And Steve Wynn's so rich. Oh, I want to be like Steve Wynn. Oh, Elon Musk is so rich. I want to be like Elon Musk. Oh, I want to get into the best parties in New York. All these Trump, for the 88th time in his life, got spectacularly lucky.
Yeah.
His dad, Trump's like, how did I get this lucky? Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Maybe because God interfered with that bullet that was going straight towards his head by having him tilt.
Hey, would you like the presidency a couple of times? He's like, just the luckiest man in the history of the world.
He's also incredibly skilled.
Right. So what I want to tell you guys, sorry, I was coughing. Look at that Senate balance, 48-40. Bye-bye. Trump's going to have the Senate, and he's probably going to have the House. Ooh, if he wins, it's still not over. It's still definitely not over. But right now, he's leading, and every indication is bad. Sherrod Brown losing in Ohio is bad.
Very good.
Rick Scott winning instantly in Florida is bad.
It's good.
Iowa not being close is bad.
No. Ellen Seltzer. Oh, that's right. She got it way wrong.
Virginia being close when it shouldn't have been close is bad. The only slight ray of hope is Arizona. So I'm going to check back in with Arizona, and then you're going to tell me, oh, no, we lost the lead.
No, I mean, it hasn't really moved. He's still up by 0.2. It's taken a while.
And now the Senate is, would you say the Senate's definitely gone, Michael?
I would say I don't see how it wouldn't be gone, to be honest. I think it's gone. You lost Sherrod. At this juncture, the Senate for the Democrats is gone. Yeah, and congratulations, Congressman, for your victory tonight. Another decisive win in Tennessee's 9th district.
It's kind of amazing that my victory, which would be my 10th, would almost think I'm being damned rather than being praised to serve with Donald Trump, a misogynistic crook, sexual offender, criminal, felon, found guilty.
I wish I could kick your ass out of your own home at this point. You're so unhinged with your rant there, Congressman. He represents Memphis. I have not heard him speak before, but I've heard his name. What an ass.
Worst person in the world. I mean, Keith Olbermann never imagined such a person.
Wow, and you're serving in Congress, the worst person in the world. You have ISIS members. You could say even Vladimir Putin didn't get away with it. But Donald Trump, the worst person in the world, no wonder people shoot at him if it's not a deep state operation because of people like you. That makes you one of the worst people in the world, in my opinion.
People have put him in for a second term.
Well, not yet they haven't. Not yet they haven't, Congressman.
Not yet. Well, maybe not, but it doesn't look good.
No.
I need to stop watching MSNBC, which, Kornacki's going over all these numbers. It's depressing.
You should stop watching MSNBC.
Well, I agree.
All of y'all out there need to stop watching MSNBC.
You have to stop watching MSNBC.
We're looking at a terrible situation. I mean, the Supreme Court gave him license to do whatever the hell he wants. And the guy's got no judgment to start with and no morality. And he's a fascist. He is.
I know, because the morality is with Joe Biden, who doesn't even acknowledge that he has an extra granddaughter that was fathered out of wedlock to Hunter Biden. Yeah, and you're talking about morality, huh?
He will be putting people in jail. He'll try to. And
what do you think you guys did to him? What do you think that you did to his supporters, his lawyers? I think that you all might deserve it. At this point, with people like you out there complaining about it, I'm looking forward to it.
Can get the Justice Department to do what he tells them to do. So I think we still got a race problem and a gender problem. And to win, we should have had a white guy. I mean, people are going to be mad, but
isn't that racist? You should have had a white guy. Racist. You're. What he's doing is calling the entire country racist because you need a white guy to win. If only people were as progressive as me. F you, Cohen.
That's the facts. The demographics worked against us, I think, because Kamala ran a good campaign and she's smart and she's experienced.
I thought it was flawless.
It didn't make enough of a difference.
And
a lot of
Kamala's
it's race,
smart?
and a lot of it's is gender. And they hit us with all the transgender stuff. He'll find 35 and 40-year-old fascists who'll serve for 50 years, and this country is effed.
No, we are actually saved.
All right, well, that is very clear. So
you don't have to be an Oxford Christian to make that observation.
Yeah, but
you're obviously on the inside. What can you do? What can the Democrats do? What's the plan to limit the effing?
I'm not thinking we'll keep the House. And if we don't keep the House, as the House and the Senate both, all we can do is bitch.
Yep, that's all y'all are doing.
Yeah, okay.
This is just ridiculous. Mel Brooks couldn't have come up with something this bad.
Yeah,
it's for Hitler.
But no, don't say Hitler. So
it's a tired accusation. That's completely. His daughter is Jewish. She married a Jewish man. He is really bad at being Hitler. But that's what they trot out every single time. And why do you think that people take a shot at him? Why do you think that people hate him? Because of propagandists and assholes like Cohen from Memphis.
So I think that it is going to be really bad. That's why I fought really, really hard to make sure Donald Trump didn't win. But if you, like the Democratic Party,
you're very effective.
Likely now is going to lose to him twice. And this guy's IQ is barely in the double digits.
Really? I would say that about you, but not Donald Trump. Perhaps you're confusing the two people, Cenk and Donald Trump. Who has the 2-digit IQ?
This guy's is
You're talking about his IQ?
Yeah. And
it's barely in the double digits.
Yeah. And so Donald.
Oh, you're just repeating exactly what he said. You're so clever, Congressman. You're so clever with your Hitler references, repeating what Cenk says about his insult about the double IQ. I think that y'all are the people with the double IQ, double-digit IQ, just talking into the camera and saying nothing. Maybe I'm in the same boat.
Trump is, like, in my opinion, a deranged clown, a buffoon of a man.
What about
what does that make the Democratic Party if you lose to him twice?
Well, it may be the American electorate, because
it's not
everybody
our fault.
Up, as of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock tonight, I thought we were going to win. She had the momentum. She was.
What momentum? The fake momentum? The lies that the media told you? MSDNC?
Joy. I said it was a different joy.
Joy.
She was joy and Trump was oy. Well, oy vey won.
Well, not yet. He hasn't.
Not yet. He hasn't. We're holding out against hope.
Last thing.
So, as you pointed out, this is a spectacular failure if it ends like this. And I think you guys are going to get steamrolled. But it doesn't matter. I know Democrats. They won't change a thing. They won't change a thing. So
no, we won't. We won't. It's the same thing. It's difficult to go back. If we don't have the House, I've got to decide whether I'll go back, but it's going to be hard to stay. It's just.
Then you can leave. You can give up your seat. You can anoint somebody with a decent mind, unlike yours.
It's going to be. I mean, the idea that we've given this gorilla the presidency and the power that Roberts gave him and the Supreme Court gave him is really scary as hell.
So, John, Virginia,
it's been called.
It's called,
yes.
Right? Yeah. So, Virginia goes for Kamala Harris, as expected. Took a little longer than expected, but good. Still holding. It's not over.
And she's up by 4 with 12% still to come in. So it was tighter. It was significantly tighter earlier.
Yeah, so she might even pull away.
Potentially,
so
yeah.
We'll see.
The trend is in her favor. And
okay. So
Pennsylvania is probably not going to be called tonight. I wouldn't imagine. John and I were talking.
Yeah, there hasn't been
much
movement on any.
There hasn't been much movement.
So there's still hope there. So speaking of hope, thank you for. But at this point, the blue wall is pretty much the only thing that matters.
The blue wall is what matters, and it's
blue
what we
wall,
thought
blue
mattered
wall.
at the beginning. And it forebodes if Harris were to win the presidency. It will be a very close race, and then we go to the courts, and then we go to the streets, and then there's all that mishigas, as they say.
Right. But if Donald Trump wins, we don't do any of that because Kamala Harris is not a whining bitch like Donald Trump. And she's not a pathological liar like Donald Trump. And she doesn't want to destroy democracy like.
Yeah. Telling the public that Joe Biden was fit as a fiddle, sharp as a tack, as she said repeatedly. She should be tried for treason for propping up a man who is mentally incapacitated as people that were not elected were running the federal government. I actually really want to know who was running things.
Donald
Obama?
Trump. I don't have a lot of love for Kamala Harris. And if she loses tonight, you're going to see how little love I have for her.
I thought you kind of grew to like her.
No, I never grew to like her.
I thought you had.
No, she's an enormously uninteresting, insipid establishment Democrat.
Insipid is
yeah, it's not.
It is.
I mean, my God, is she insipid? Okay. Anyway, by the way, our poll on who's going to hold the blue wall. Man, you guys are more pessimistic than I am. 82-18, Donald Trump.
Damn.
So I wouldn't go that far, guys. So the blue wall is still possible. Jeez, and Lord mercy with over 51,000 votes there. All right, keep voting. The polls are getting clobbered, like Kamala Harris is getting clobbered in our polls, which is funny. Of course, they're not scientific, but getting a sense of the audience. And go Steelers. There you go. You know what, though? The funny thing is that put me in a better mood.
Of course it did.
Okay.
In the last 15 minutes, so who knows? But it's one of those things. We can start trying to figure out what went wrong and what happened here and what happened there. Bro, it's one of those things. It's such a close toss-up. As we say, every race is so close. It's a toss-up. It's close.
But the trends have been that she's been underperforming President Biden from 4 years ago. It's very doable. She can make a little night music here tonight. She's going to have to do it in Pennsylvania. She's going to have to do it in Wisconsin.
That's where the fraud is.
She's going to have to do it in Michigan.
Keep the
in
fraud
order to do
coming.
that, she's going to have to, see the trends change in the cities. So, again, this is the only path to victory. She has to win all of these 3 states, and I've been saying it for a while. She's got to win her home games, right? And these are blue states. And if you look how still, because of California, looks like the Democrats can hold on to it. It's certainly, if Trump were to win this, and the Senate has already gone for the Democrats, good news for Harris. She won Hawaii. That's been called. But if you look at, let's just, not throw anything away, because that blue wall is still up, and that's the wall that the Democrats need, and we knew that from the beginning.
Okay, can we? I want to see what percentage you're reporting there.
So Bucks County, there's 42% left, so 58% are reported.
That's good news. Yeah, that's really good.
But it's not as north. There's another blue county, but that's not, that's winnable too. So this race is not over. It's just not looking good.
Flagstaff. The frustration and the speculation can be completely valid. I'm never the type to be like, oh no, it's over. Let's see. Why not? Let's go ahead and see first. But again, there's so many things still left to happen. This is where the potential problem comes in with how close it would be to that. No matter which way it goes, there's going to be all these thoughts of challenge. And this, no matter what it is, it's going to still be really bad, like news. It's going to be bad reactions to it. There's going to be excuses that are outside of what it is that's going.
Thank you for bringing on another eloquent person.
On assumption.
I feel like there's a lot of cope going on. I'm going to keep it real. And the fact of the matter is, Kamala Harris chose to try to convince disaffected Republicans, all 3 of them, to vote for her by campaigning with a neocon, campaigning with Liz Cheney.
That's true.
We have to be real about this, guys. We just do. And magical thinking isn't going to help the Democratic Party. They're not going to win with magical thinking.
No, they can win with fraud, though. Let's not forget about that. They still have hope.
They have to come to terms with the mistakes that they've made, and it shouldn't be a close election, but it is.
No,
and it's not looking good for Kamala
Harris. It wasn't.
For the Republicans, the Senate is definitely gone, but I'm sure Chuck Schumer will be a brilliant minority leader. Okay.
How much do we think?
The way they run the party is donor, neocons, former Republicans, let's all 7 of you, we're going to win. We're going to get the Republicans in the suburbs, all that stuff. And it never works. They always go back to the same well. Why? Because they can't get off the donor crack. And so
I mean, Kamala Harris managed to raise a record amount of money in this campaign.
1.5 billion.
I was in a diner in LA last week. I forgot to talk about the story on the bonus episode. Two people start talking to each other super loudly. They didn't know each other. They're both white. One's a woman, the other one's, and then they start getting into conspiracy theories and lunatic stuff. And isn't it in West LA?
Talk about a lunatic.
And then
Look in
she
the
starts
mirror.
talking about how, oh yeah, you know, black people, they're all in gangs. They all have 5 to 7 wives.
What?
And I'm like, what?
Another made-up story by Cenk.
What? And
Is that a well-known thing? Gang members have 5 to 7 wives? That's a lot of stamina.
Right. So, but my point is that it might not be LA or Louisiana. It might be, but I don't want people to misinterpret me. I don't agree with Congressman Cohen about race being determinative in the race, in the campaign, et cetera. In Wisconsin, right now, as things stand, 81% of the vote in, and he has about a 4-point lead in Wisconsin. And New York Times is saying that, and I've seen this move a lot, and not just today, but in all the races we've covered. So don't take it as gospel, but that sounds about right to me, that Trump has about a 75% chance of winning Wisconsin as things stand now.
That sounds real
so
nice.
if he wins Wisconsin, that is obviously a world of hurt and probably game over. So
Keep hurting, Cenk.
and he's got about a 6-point lead there.
In Michigan.
In Michigan.
It's tightened in terms of the number of votes there, but not by enough. And it's going to, at a certain point, be difficult to find those votes. But we know what the map looks like.
They can pull them out of the trucks that pull up to the polling stations, the late night trucks that are obscured when they turn the video cameras off magically, like they did during Epstein's murder.
You know what has to happen? It's that blue wall of those 3 states. Trump is ahead in all of them. Trump is favored in all of them. But again, there's stranger things have happened, and they happened in some of these states just 4 years ago.
Fraud.
So in Michigan,
Fraud.
Even though he has a larger lead, since less percentage has reported, he has a 67% chance of winning, as opposed to Wisconsin, where he has a 75% chance of winning. This is if the New York Times is right. And then in Pennsylvania, he's got about a 3-point lead, 2.8% lead, but 88% has reported in Pennsylvania. And New York Times has his chance of winning there at 79%. So right now, it would require a significant comeback of Kamala Harris. Again, they're not, but and Trump folks, you'll see with your own eyes. If Kamala Harris loses, they'll concede. They won't pretend that there was some sort of,
like Hillary calling Trump an illegitimate president.
Finally, we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
He's an illegitimate president. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Election, fraud. They won't say that they won't put together a list of fake electors. They won't bum rush the Capitol. They won't do any of that stuff. But oh my God, if Kamala Harris comes back at this point and wins, when the Trump people are absolutely convinced that they're going to win, and the odds are with them, oh, the Trump people would be furious.
I mean, they are celebrating right now.
That's true. Oh, of course they are. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good for them. They should, in that way, celebrate. The House, I'm looking at these House races. The House is looking pretty good. A lot of these toss-up elections are going to Democrats, curiously, when you look
here. It is curious, as you look at the state of the race. What do you think?
It's not much different than what we were saying before. It is what it is. It's a matter of it's the state of the country. So, but let's just wait and see. I've never been big on, if she was winning this way, I wouldn't be like, it's over at all. Why do that? It's crazy.
Forgive me when I think that maybe you've got your position via DEI.
Yeah,
we're not there yet. All right, well, say hi to all your wives.
So people are nuts, man. They're really nuts. All right, JR,
you're 49.3% yes, 50.7% no to raise people's wages. So that's fun.
If we can't win on higher minimum wage, what can we win on? I mean, Jesus, that's a slaughter.
The minimum wage should be zero. It should be done by the free market. That maximizes employment and gives people at the bottom opportunities to gain skills.
Perhaps.
People receive a lot of propaganda that their wages going up is a terrible, terrible thing, unfortunately.
I don't know. Why don't you blame the Democrats for bringing hordes of illegal migrants over the border? That definitely helps suppress wages,
64% as of right now.
No is 64%?
Yes.
Oh my God! So that got slaughtered. Okay, we're doomed. Speaking of doomed, Georgia has just been called for Donald J. Trump.
YMCA.
So Georgia's gone.
YMCA.
So now the hope that Arizona, Nevada can replace part of the blue wall still exists because it could replace a Wisconsin or maybe a Michigan. I'll have to do the math on it. It cannot replace Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is now mission critical.
Nevada, but Pennsylvania. If Pennsylvania goes, the presidency goes to Donald Trump.
Yeah, if Pennsylvania is called, it's over.
Unless, of course, Alaska surprises.
Yeah, Alaska will not surprise. Alaska barely ever surprises. Although I hate the money in politics. I hate it, right? But Democrats are like, what? Money in politics is a problem? What do you mean? I just got $1 billion. How'd that turn out for you, Kamala Harris? How'd that turn out for your Democratic Party? $1 billion.
It worked out really well for the consultants that she hired, that's for sure. For Beyonce, for Eminem, who got paid $1.8 million, for Oprah Winfrey, who got $2 million. It definitely worked out, y'all.
Down the toilet. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm not glad about the grassroots people who gave and lost their money on this party. I feel terrible about that. But the incredibly wealthy corporations and executives and et cetera that gave to Kamala Harris, you lost your money? Oh no, you will. So look, guys, if these results hold, over the next 4 years, we are going to have the biggest kleptocracy you have ever seen. They are going to rob this country blind.
As Doge uncovers all the illicit money laundering operations, the throwing of the gold off the Titanic to leftist causes specifically, and you're talking about the kleptocracy that exists under a Trump regime, I'm not saying that it won't, but it definitely existed under Joe Biden.
They are going to load us up with so much debt. It is going to be staggering.
36 trillion.
He's going to be like, cuts, more spending. Who cares? Subsidies for Elon, subsidies for all my donors. They're all going to get spectacularly wealthy, and it is going to be a gigantic robbery. So that's guaranteed. Lock it in.
Speaking of,
I've now voted for, tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars in extra taxes in California. And what does it got me?
Nothing.
53% more homelessness. It got me more crime. It got me more, all negative things. I don't know a single good thing the Democrats.
I don't know. How in the world did you predict Kamala Harris would win? Unless they had the media operation just committing psyop after psyop upon the public.
Democratic Party just done in California. So look, I'm obviously very down on the Democratic Party now, and for excellent reason. But I don't, Michael. Can we name a single positive thing that the Democratic Party has done in California in the last decade?
Look, I certainly think they've done a lot for the environment. I think
environment, abortion.
Imagine all the CO2, all of the chemicals that were emitted during the fires that could have been at least somewhat prevented in terms of the amount of damage that they did. The reservoir that had been drained months ago and had not been refilled that was supposed to serve the Palisades because there was a hole in the cover to prevent bird poop from falling in, so you drain the whole reservoir. Yeah, I'm not so sure they were so great on the environment.
Abortion doesn't count. Jesus Christ, that's the bare minimum. But okay, the environment.
They've been leaders on progressive issues like marijuana, like gay marriage, like climate change, all of those things, I think,
climate change,
are,
that's huge.
Are very practical and very real. And
as we transfer all the production to China and India and let them spew this and belch out the CO2 and the smoke and the toxins at a far greater rate than it would have done in the United States. Well done, California.
And no amount of money or lack of money. Well, it is mines. I mean, they're. What do you mean? Why are you laughing?
Yeah,
at that?
here's why. What's important is that the Democratic Party keeps telling us that how they have so many smart leaders. Congressman Cohen today. Oh, just everybody's smart. The consultants are smart. All the leaders are smart. Or the governor's smart. The mayor's smart. They're all wonderful, competent, etc. Well, then how come they keep losing to Trump? How come they keep clowning themselves and not being able to fix a single thing? Another thing to go, I'm gonna get those son-of-bitch Wall Street guys. Here's how much our housing prices were before private equity started buying up all the homes. Here's what they are now. Well, these guys are going to drop.
Did that under Joe Biden, under the Democrats. BlackRock was given billions of dollars at a 0.5% interest rate, if I remember correctly. I'm directionally correct again, and told to go and support the housing market, thus raising prices and taking the possibility of a young family from being able to purchase at lower prices because of government intervention.
It's all out of the market. They're going to take all of our homes and they're going to turn us into renters and they're going to make us work for them the whole time. Now, if you tell a Democrat that, they go, "Oh, no, that's so uncivil. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please, no, that's so uncivil," right? The average American wants you to be pissed because they're pissed because they can't afford houses anymore. I heard that everywhere. Imagine if somebody said, "I'm not going to stand for it. We had houses, you're going to have a house. And if I got to go after every son of a bitch on Wall Street, then that's what I'm going to do," okay? Oh, no way. There's a 0% chance any weak Democrat will ever do that for you. They'll never fight for you. They'll never fight for you. And that's why they keep losing to ridiculous, moronic clowns like Donald Trump. How do you lose to a guy like that? Twice. You think they'll learn anything? They'll learn nothing. Nothing. Oh, come on, Jesus Christ. And there's a Washington mind virus. Money. Money's supposed to lead to victories. You raised $1 billion. Where the F is our victory? That's like 1% risk? No, that's so risky. No. Be civil. Don't do anything. Play prevent defense. Who the hell told you you were winning? Why are you playing prevent defense? These Democratic leaders are simpletons. They're servants of the donor class. So they go in there, they're like, "Oh, donor, give me money, please." And I made an ad. "I'm Kamala Harris. I'm full of joy." Okay, well, what did that get you? And they say, "Oh, Jake, you're too angry." Too angry? What? You think, does Donald Trump look like he's kind? Does he look like he's in a good mood? I mean, no, people want some sort of reaction from their politicians. They want them to represent them, to fight for them. But that has never occurred to a Democrat outside of Bernie Sanders, and probably we never will. So I have no interest in listening to a single Democratic politician ever again. They can go kiss my ass. They can do whatever they want. And we never listen to them anyway. And they hate us because we're right and they're wrong. They're always wrong.
Always
and they
wrong.
hate us for being right. Okay? So, but
you got this election wrong.
These Democratic leaders are the most useless people on earth. If they're not all fired, the Democratic Party is out of its mind. So as the voters, you have to understand, those guys have a vested interest in protecting their own ass and protecting their money and their privilege and their status. You need to fire them. They're not going to fire themselves. No, you have to fire them. So the next time that some son of a bitch on MSNBC or in the Democratic Party tells you, "Oh no, be a good boy and girl, be civil, and vote for Democratic leaders," they know what they're doing. Those are the same goddamn liars that told you that Joe Biden was totally fine. That he was young and he was dynamic behind the scenes. And it wasn't a problem at all. At that point, he was down 8 points nationally. He was getting slaughtered. He was down by 18 in Iowa, and I could go on and on. They've been lying to you the whole time. If you're on the left, you're a Democratic voter. Wakey, wakey. I need to wake you up out of the hypnosis that you're in, that Morning Joe and The View and all of mainstream media has put you in. They're lying to you.
It's true,
Why
though.
do you think they keep losing? Do you think they keep telling you how smart they are and how they're going to deliver you victories? And all they ever do is deliver loss after loss after loss. So Democratic voters, snap out of it. These guys are obvious liars. Fire them all. Fire them all. And if you don't, okay, then keep losing to buffoons, to obvious con men like Donald Trump. Keep losing and losing and losing and never figuring it out. Here, I solved it for you. I figured it out. It's the goddamn corruption. All the stupid donor money, all it's ever done is lead to more losses. So if you don't fire them, you have no one to blame but yourself. Young Turks, we'll be back.
Michael, any movement?
You know, none to speak of right now. The blue wall is still what the Democrats are going to have to count on. It's a lot to count on. The former president is ahead of the vice president in all three states right now. Having to find right now 217,000 votes in Pennsylvania is becoming more and more difficult, and it might even be more than that. It looks like it's about 20,000 votes in Pennsylvania. It's going to be tough to do. But you need the ballots. Mm-hmm. You need the votes. You got to find a way to find them, and she's got to find.
Didn't Trump almost go to jail
over
for that?
200,000 in two states and over 100,000 in another. Everything has to go right now, and nothing has gone right tonight for the vice president. So doesn't mean it can't. Was always my thought was that she was going to win by winning the blue wall, but she can also lose by losing the blue wall, and that seems more likely to happen than all of these dominoes to fall in her direction.
Yeah, simultaneously.
Yeah.
We should remember we went to sleep in 2020 not knowing.
Where's Cenk?
A very, very similar sort of thing.
Where's Chunky?
There was some way. Yeah.
Chunky boy, come back.
We don't
please.
know for sure. We're gonna have to wait and find out. I will say one sign perhaps of confidence from Donald Trump is he had his press conference in 2020 the night of. And he's not having a press conference now, which I think is a sign of confidence. He went out there and declared victory knowing that he hadn't won. I think it was a sign of fear that he was going to lose. He wanted to shut things down.
Excellent
The fact that he is not rushing out to claim fraud, because again, elections are allowed to not be determined by fraud as long as he wins them.
Right.
If he ever loses them, then they're obviously fraud. And it's not
I mean, it's because so far the blue wall is looking like Trump's border wall, kind of non-existent.
He built 500 miles of it.
I've been waiting all night to make that joke.
You finally got it in. Yeah, and by the way, again,
he has exceeded the performance tonight in every sort of metric that you can look at. So it was the margin of error plus in most of these states. So all the swing states, as of this moment, are looking Trumpy, and the New York Times is saying that there is greater than a 95% chance of victory. For the former president. And if that holds, I mean, you can only dispute as much as you can dispute. Right now, Pennsylvania is at 93%, and the lead there is 224,000 votes. So could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. But it's getting less and less likely the more this goes on. And, one thing that I am bullish on is, and realistically so, is control of the House going to the Democrats. And
another excellent prediction.
And they are. So I'm still looking at the presidential race. The blue wall is there's a steadiness to the way these margins have remained. She's closed by a few thousand in a couple of the states, but we're starting to see it become very difficult to find votes, like we've been talking about. I mean, so it's just becoming more and more difficult to navigate that right now, and the next nominee is going to look a lot more like Tim Walz than Gavin Newsom, would be my guess. But
what? There's no chance of that. More like Tim Walz than Gavin Newsom? I don't even know where this guy's coming. Tim Walz is the worst possible vice presidential pick that Kamala could have made. He was her emotional support animal that she brought to the interview with Dana Bash, I believe. And that's all he was. He didn't do anything positive for her during the campaign. But I know you said it looks like, but still, you're wrong.
We have a lot of time. And of course, I'm going to be finished covering politics by then.
Good.
You're out like Steve Cohen.
I mean, a little bit. Like, I mean, no, I'm not making any,
You're
big promises
so addicted
tonight.
to politics. You're
I'm
not going to
addicted
stop.
to it, but I would be happy.
You're not going to stop. You just got everything wrong. You're kind of dumb. You're not good looking, but you're not going to stop.
Be a travel reporter too, and just
It's
eat
like
good
breathing
meals.
air
And
for you.
it is like breathing air. Maybe I'll go into hockey reporting and move to Ottawa. And
You're
just
not going to be satisfied.
I may be. Maybe I'll
Probably
cover
better
another
at that than
country's
politics.
Maybe that's the cure. Move to Canada and cover. No. I do love politics, and one of the things that
I think where I find a little bit of solace is, look, I think the majority of Americans, including those who vote, for the right, are good people who want good things in this country. There's a lot of frustration among the electorate. There's a lot of anger regardless of how this turns out. And it doesn't look good for Kamala Harris. I hope that it's at least a learning experience.
Yeah, a lot doesn't have to.
That's
change.
what losers
He has
say
to
when
be
they
gone,
get shut
and then
out.
Things will get back to whatever normal was.
It was a learning experience. We lost in the championship game, but it was a learning experience. The second place trophy is worthless. I won one as a 13-year-old Babe Ruth All-Stars. It was a worthless trophy.
There are scholars who believe this, who study politics, who are smart people, who've written great books, and not about this, but just these are opinions I've been able to get from them, who think that once Trump is gone, there will be going back to what we knew as normal. And we also sat here and complained about what was normal then. So let's remember that.
Because I think it's deeply strange to all of a sudden go from none of these people talked about trans people to now it's literally the only thing they care about. That is very, very strange.
False. There's plenty of other things to care about in addition to the fact that they're transing children. That's not the only reason that Democrats lost. And yes, that campaign ad was incredibly effective.
Strange, very strange identity politics. And I think it does get a lot of the stuff about race and about sexuality is just like this constant focus on identity politics, demonizing groups.
That's all the Democrats ever do.
Yeah.
As I come back, both angry and happy at the same time, because that's who I am. and
a little bit
and
crazy
so I have
too.
funny things to tell you, terrible things to tell you. I come in on the big screen, and it's like this cavernous area that they're doing it in, and people start booing, and it was awesome.
They started booing you?
Yeah, not
because I got all the attention that I've ever craved.
Not the host, but the audience,
the-
right?
yeah.
They're like Cenk from the Young Turks, were like boo, like the Undertaker just came in, which is kind of badass.
You love that wrestling environment.
Oh, I do, I do.
I would
But you
also
know
like
what? So we'll see how it goes. But anytime I insult Trump, they're like, "No, that's our daddy," right? But outside of that, look, I probably dislike Democratic leadership more than they do. So you got to remember, I haven't watched wrestling regularly since.
Are you impressed that I knew what that was?
I'm impressed. It's like when you referenced Gollum on the show once.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was telling them that I'm doing Young Turks tonight with Cenk, and he said, "I like Cenk. Cenk likes wrestling."
That's so true.
They had some Polish guy on the show, and he starts talking about America, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy, and why is he telling me about America?" And the crowd kind of laughed, and then he caught feelings. I'm like, "What are you, Viktor Orban's cousin?"
Oh, then you're making friends. They're
Such a
cheering.
good joke.
Anyways, what Fox News called Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. That doesn't mean anything.
YMCA.
It means something. It means he's leading in Pennsylvania. But no one else has called Pennsylvania. But Fox News had to call an important state before anyone else did for Trump. Because in the last election, they called Arizona for Joe Biden before anyone else did. And their audience lost it. They hated that. So
That's
they had
why
to
they
make
called it.
amends
That's the
by
only
going,
reason. She's going to come back and win
We'll go
Pennsylvania.
first. Trump won Pennsylvania. Okay. Now the reality is he probably will win Pennsylvania, right? But is it locked in? Probably not. Did they want to be first? Yeah. Okay. So they think it's already over. And it, guys, at this point, it doesn't look good. We certainly have to acknowledge that.
There's nothing.
You don't
that
look
looks
good
right now.
but the election results do.
Wisconsin and Michigan look, as they look gooder than the other things, but they don't look good.
Because you mentioned Fox News. So, like, look, they have called things early before 2000 and all that. This is like sort of on trend for them. But I agree with your read. They're doing it not because their journalistic ethics have led to it, but because they're trying to curry favor with Donald Trump, which obviously every right-wing media outlet, if he wins, is going to do for the next 4 years.
So, look, what I told that conservative crowd was, hear me now, quote me later, Donald Trump's going to rob you blind.
That's the only reason
they
he's
didn't
in
love
politics.
that message, but it's true. And so we've got to start talking about the next 4 years. I mean, if Kamala Harris has a miraculous comeback here in these 3 states, great, and that's still possible.
No.
And again,
No,
it wouldn't
I'm
be a
praying
miracle
against it.
because the votes are already in. It's just on the order of how they count. But having said that, right, obviously it doesn't look great right now. And so first, let's acknowledge that all the hopes of the Democrats, being sure that of X, Y, and Z just wasn't the case. Obviously, even if she comes back and barely wins, there was no big victory to be had. There was no unexpected voters to be had. The 2022 and 23 results were not repeated. And so all the assurances that we got that the rocket scientists of the Democratic Party had figured this out were totally not true, not remotely true, okay? So that's just clearly the case at this point. Okay, so when we look at the next 4 years, buckle up, brace for impact. So here we go again, but this time Donald Trump's gonna be unchecked. So
subscribe to the channel, y'all.
Well, first of all, we don't know that we're really gonna keep the House. I would be shocked by that.
Flip the House.
Yeah, and we can talk about that here. Why? Well, I've got no theory on why the Democrats would do better in the House, but get annihilated in the Senate and lose the presidential.
There are so many weird things that happen on election night. I mean,
like cheating.
But we've got to reckon with that. We can't just say like, oh,
no voter ID in California. You're not even allowed to present your voter ID to a pollster there. Why? That just opens the door to cheating. Oh, because we want everybody to be able to vote. No, we want fair elections without the thought that perhaps it's been corrupted.
Well, that they were wrong, they were bad, now they're racist too, or whatever, right? No, we have to reckon with the fact that the Democratic Party did not deliver. It didn't. And so now this is a big, giant, controversial topic, and and I'm sure I'll get a million people yelling at me from, mainstream media, Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. But I told you guys he didn't pass much. And everybody said Biden is FDR 2.0, and it was amazing all the things that he passed. Well, why didn't you run on it? Why didn't it work?
And so this was an election about one thing, and that election, and it was an election about Donald Trump. And it looks like Donald Trump's going to win the election about Donald Trump.
I think it was a mistake to think that this election is only about Donald Trump. I think Democrats have been making that mistake over and over and over again.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what it ended up being, though, right? This was not like, prove me wrong, right? Maybe
No, but
switch
we're all
it.
saying the same thing, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is that the Democrats should actually get something accomplished and run on it instead of just running about Donald Trump.
We're not saying the same thing then, because I don't think this election would have been about that. I think because of Donald Trump's presence in it, and I guess in a sense we are, because you're saying that they should have. In spite of that, I don't know that you could have penetrated this election with issues. I just don't think you could have.
Yeah, I definitely think
and you might be right. I just don't think you could have.
Can you? Well,
by the way, they didn't. And so, I first of all, the idea that Latinos only care about immigration and want more undocumented immigrants in is just flat out wrong. We can keep saying it if we like, but it isn't true. And so, so the idea of saying, "Hey, we're not as tough on immigrants, so vote for us, Latinos," it didn't work.
Well,
and I don't think it's going to work.
I don't think that's what they.
We were right about all the criticism we had of the leftists and of the corporate Democrats. And that's why we constantly feel like we're stuck in the middle, right?
100%.
And
we're always the bad guys for just, look, I'm just going to keep it real. Like, no one comes on this show and just talks out of their ass. Okay, we never talk out of our ass. Everything that we talk about has been researched as much as we can before we go on air. But rather than maybe taking that data seriously, everyone piles on. Everyone piles on. The leftists pile on. The more establishment Democrats or moderate Democrats pile on, because we want magical thinking.
Yeah,
we want magical thinking.
And so and what happened? The number one ad that Trump ran that helped him win was on that issue. Not because the American people hate trans folks or LGBTQ folks, but because if you go too far, at some point they go, okay, that's too far. And our job is to be honest with you guys and share our expertise and say, I know what the American people are gonna say. I've been covering this for a long, long time. There's no way in the world the American people were gonna be like, oh yeah, fantastic, let's do that. Let's put trans women into all the professional sports, whether the professional sports leagues want them or not, et cetera, et cetera. And we were assured by the left.
Interestingly, I'm not even sure that happened. I have not seen any trans individuals in the WNBA averaging 50 points a game, which any male would.
That they were geniuses that knew all of this. What happened, geniuses? What happened? I know they'll make 1,000 excuses going forward, just like the establishment Democrats. What we keep telling you is do not fall into a right-wing trap. The right-wing trap is, hey, people want gay rights, people want trans rights, so let's go further and further and further until we can find out if there is an unpopular issue we could stick the Democrats with. So when they get to that outer edge, we say to you, don't bother fighting that fight, because then you're gonna go backwards and you're gonna lose more rights. You're gonna lose more rights when they win. But no, nobody believed it because they were all geniuses. Well, what happened? The number one ad. So it doesn't mean that you don't fight for the trans community. Of course you do. You fight to protect their rights. But guys, it isn't a right of undocumented immigrants to get any surgery from America, whether they're trans.
It is according to the Democrats that know how to best to spend your money and want more in your taxes.
They're not trans. You can't. I mean, how do you not see that you can't come into a place and go, oh, I came here with no documents and, let's be honest, illegally. Now I demand surgery. Well, brother, you just got here, okay? I mean, what do you mean you demand surgery? Even if you think they should get it, no problem, but you're not gonna win that case with the American people. So, and then we told you about crime. And everybody's, oh, don't ignore it. Don't worry about it. No big deal on crime. No big deal. What happened with Prop 36?
Not as bad as the 90s, Cenk.
Prop 36 passed. George Gascon, the LA district attorney, lost.
Of course he did.
Because crime.
Told you.
Yeah.
Told you.
There are some silver linings tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So it turns out you have to think about the voters. You could be a leftist doing your little cute stream and go, oh, dude, I know, man. And there's no crime. It's, yeah, I know everything. Well, then why did Prop 36 win easily? Why did George Gascon lose? Why did all the progressives, so-called progressives in Portland lose, in Seattle lose, San Francisco lose, New York lose? Why did you lose every goddamn election if you know so much? No, because you know what? Because I'm such a genius. I have this revolutionary idea that apparently the online leftist clown asses I've never thought of. People don't like to be attacked. People don't like to be robbed. People don't like to be sexually assaulted. People don't like to be killed. People don't like crime.
No,
to them, that's like
we
a
don't.
giant news alert. They didn't know.
Preach, Cenk, preach.
What? People don't like being robbed or being sexually assaulted? I know. Oh, no. Oh, I got a great idea. Let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Or just say that if you're a certain color of skin that you're allowed to do it.
How'd that turn out for you? How'd that turn out for all of us?
Not well.
Okay. Now a good ballot measure that should have passed easily loses because you lost all credibility with voters, even in California.
Fox News has called Wisconsin for Trump and thus the presidency. It's just Fox News. People are also
just
saying
Fox,
that it's
he can
too
come
early
back
to make that call, but that speaks to what you were saying, Cenk, about Fox wanting to be first. They might be right by being first, but as of this moment, they're the only ones who have called
were
this.
right.
All right, so we've got to clean house and start over. We should, and the leftists are no longer an issue electorally because they've all been wiped out. all throughout the country.
They're still an issue because they're shooting up and bombing Tesla dealerships in opposition to Elon Musk cutting federal government waste and bureaucracy.
There's almost none left. So
subscribe to the channel, y'all.
Congratulations on that. Okay, we've got to get back to sanity. We can, and we've got to rebuild. And
the most
good
sane
news
person
is
instructing
when a
us to
party
do
is this thoroughly destroyed, when you lose to a sociopathic clown twice, you rebuild. You got nothing left. If you're trying to maintain the structure of the Democratic Party and go, no, if we just do it one more time, if we just listen to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi one more time. No, well, I mean, so if you think I'm mad at leftists who went a little too far, those corporate Democrats, biggest clowns in the world, and I'll never, ever, ever listen to them. All they've done is led to the total destruction of the Democratic Party. Because it's getting close, and Trump might be about to speak, and we're obviously going to share that with you guys. Kamala Harris might be speaking tomorrow night. That's the latest word that we got. Okay, gigantic moment here. Here we go. Ready? NBC News, ABC News, and CNN have all called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. This election is over.
Yeah,
Donald
baby.
Trump is going to be the 47th
Yes!
president of the United States. And he has won
Syphilitic
re-election.
Clown, right,
So,
Cenk?
buckle up, brace for impact. We're going to
YMCA.
have 4 years
Y
of anarchy and
motherfucking
chaos.
MCA.
My prediction, which is not a bold one, is they're going to rob the place blind. They'll break so many things in this country. There is no upside to that. It's a disaster. But I cannot imagine a scenario where Donald Trump does a good job and a Republican gets
doing a
elected in
great job so
2028.
far.
That's my prediction. Let's see what happens. I had no prediction in the election. As the one guy who said, I don't know what's going to happen.
You predicted Harris.
One side said, oh, they're positive. The other side, they said they were positive. Turns out the Democrats who said they were so positive, as usual, were preposterously wrong. Completely and utterly
Stupidly wrong.
I have plenty of information on Donald Trump. It's going to be a disaster. But the most important part of this is the Democratic leadership, the Democratic Party, the establishment Democrats, they did this to you. They lost to that buffoon twice. So don't tell me how bad Donald Trump is. Don't tell me how crazy Donald Trump is if you lost to him twice. So because what you're doing is you're telling on yourself. You're saying, I'm so incompetent that I couldn't beat Donald Trump, who barely breaks double digits in IQ, who says the most outrageous, ridiculous thing. And you couldn't beat him. And even the one time they beat him, it was by 43,000 votes in 3 swing states in 2020.
With lots of cheating.
This Democratic leadership knows nothing. They know nothing at all other than donors, please give us money. We'll do anything for you. We'll do anything. I'm begging you. And so you did. Kamala Harris, you did just like Hillary Clinton did. You way outraised Donald Trump. You thought money was the answer. What happened? But they're not even bothering to win anymore. That was the most boring, terrible campaign I've ever seen by Kamala Harris. She spent some portion of the campaign hiding out in a basement. They put Tim Walz nearly permanent basement status. They said that Joe Biden had these amazing legislative accomplishments. They never ran on him. And it turns out they weren't popular. Just like we told you here on the Young Turks. Who was right and who was wrong? At some point, you have to listen to people who have been right instead of people who have been wrong over and over and over again. We say that Donald Trump is unstable and unhinged, and I think that is true. But you know that old saying about how insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? So how crazy are we if we just go back to the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the Kamala Harris's, the same, the Hillary Clintons, the same dumbass people who have been taking donor money, taking it and taking it and taking it and delivering no results. The Democrats have enormously popular economic policies, but they never actually pass them. It was their fault. It was their fault. And I guarantee you after this election, do you think that Kamala Harris and the rest are going to learn their lesson? There's no chance of that. Instead, they will blame their voters first.
Subscribe.
They'll talk about, oh, the Arabs and the
Leave your
Muslims,
comment
they were the
below.
problems in Michigan. They'll talk about young black men didn't turn out. Oh, women should have turned out more. Oh, we Latinos, how dare they go with a racist Donald Trump? And then
It's just, I'm so sick of the refusal to do any self-reflection at all and to lash out as if the electorate, like the onus is on the electorate to get them elected. Like they're entitled to the voters working for them. And it's like, no. You're running to be a public servant. They have forgotten that, Cenk.
No, absolutely.
And so they're just totally disconnected. They're disconnected
She's
from
right.
average, everyday Americans.
I absolutely agree with what Anna is saying here.
And that's why I think the Democratic Party has been bleeding support from, marginalized communities that, the Democrats purport to be the representatives of. But are you really representing them? What have you done to make their lives better? Look, I get that tonight is depressing for a lot of people, but at the same time, I'm not shedding a tear for the Democrats, okay? They deserve this.
And
the electorate doesn't deserve it, Anna, but Democrats deserve it.
Yeah, Democratic politicians.
Politicians, yeah, let me be specific.
And so those politicians, the number one issue is establishment versus populist. So if you're voting for an establishment Democrat, they're going to deliver donuts for you. Nothing. And they're going to tell you, oh, the Republicans are bad guys. Everybody's racist and sexist. You have to vote for me, otherwise you're guilty. It's all your fault. And so I didn't lose 2 elections in a row to Donald Trump. The geniuses in the Democratic leadership did. They're not smart. They're not honest. They're not competent.
That's all true.
They're not the best of us. They're the worst of us.
True.
If you don't change as Democratic voters, this is all you'll ever get. Loss after loss after loss. Eventually, they'll just lose to like an actual literal baboon.
Do you mean yourself?
They're like, I don't know. I raised $2 billion from the donors.
As you do your
I didn't do
baboon
anything at all, but I raised so much money. I don't know how the baboon beat us 4 times. Maybe an orangutan.
He's proud of himself for that one.
I mean, he kind of is an orangutan. But anyway, so go ahead, Democratic establishment guys, go cry. Well, it's because of you we lost this election. It's because of you we lost to the election in 2016. So we did it your way. It's not like you didn't get your way. You got your beloved Hillary Clinton. You got your beloved Joe Biden. You got your beloved Kamala Harris. You have your beloved Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Wall-to-wall losses. I'm not a pessimist. 1%.
Yeah, I'm the pessimist.
Yeah, we're gonna get right back on that horse. But my point is, learn the lessons so you get better and better, and you don't just keep staying on the same dumbass donor treadmill that leads to oblivion and falling off a cliff.
Maybe the pod's gonna save America. Think about it.
That's not fun.
All right. Well, guys, it's your choice on which way you want to go. But if you vote for establishment Democrats again, you ought to have your head examined in primaries. Okay, so here's Trump. He's going to make a speech, obviously. This is going to be brutal.
Barron Trump is insanely tall.
Yeah, Trump
6'9"
talks about that too. He is. Yeah. So I believe they're down on Palm Beach, and he's about to give a victory speech, which he has earned because he has the victory. He has gotten Pennsylvania. He has won this election, and these next 4 years are going to be so long. And you look, if you're watching the Young Turks, I don't think you need me to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. This guy is going to do the craziest things you've ever seen. So I can't believe we let him back in the White House. He did a coup attempt against America, and we elected him president. That is how incompetent the Democratic Party is. How do you lose to a guy who tried to do a coup against America? Democrats are the most incompetent people on earth. All right, here we go.
A coup, again, a coup. That's the way he's framed it.
Given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good.
That is good.
The Senate races in Montana. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives.
We don't know if that's true yet. We'll see how that goes. But he gets to brag about everything. That's what happens when you win.
Mike Johnson, I think he's a vice president-elect of the United States.
Hey, fun now. Wait till they try to hang you.
You think you're so funny, not.
And this guy is so happy. He's such a careerist.
Remarkable and beautiful.
And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
And the world and history. In no other country,
hell of a
no other way could this have happened.
You do a coup attempt, and then they put you back in the White House.
We're never going to stop fighting.
I'd like to ask
You won the presidency. Talk about that.
I know, for real.
You had like this miraculous political comeback. Why are we talking about the UFC and a rando golfer and how he's hitting his balls?
Because he's inspirational, Cenk. He finds fighters who
Dana
beat
White
the
up. This is
out of each other.
crazy. Why is he bringing Dana White to the podium?
When the machine comes in.
Because he has the right to, Cenk.
Tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder,
You
richer,
already said that.
safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Thanks, God. Okay, so there you have it. Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Let's hope that our graphic is wrong and that it's not the final election. And hey, what happened to all the undocumented immigrants that were supposed to vote for the Democrats? I thought we were flying them to all the swing states. That's what Elon said. And he said, you know, the Democrats are going to steal the election. Donald Trump said it was rigged. Alex Jones said we're all going to be in FEMA camps. Ted Cruz said we're all going to be in Hobbit homes. None of those things ever happened, but the right-wing voters never catch on. Okay. And of course, they said, oh, Kamala would do the same thing. The Democrats would do the same thing as Donald Trump. They're not going to do the same thing. Kamala Harris is the vice president of the United States. She could refuse to certify the election. Is she going to do that? There's a 0% chance she's going to do that. It's a 0% chance they'll try to cheat and try to say, well, I got fake electors in Michigan. So no, of course, she'll concede. It's over. Donald Trump has won. So, all right, last thoughts. Michael, last thoughts about the election.
You know,
I was wrong. Just say I was wrong.
Disappointed. I'm disappointed in the country. I'm not casting the blame in the same way that you're casting it. There's plenty of time to look at what happened to make this happen. I think that
the Democrats went absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. As I've said, that they mandated that you stay home, take a vaccine that you didn't want, that didn't frickin' work, locked down your kids, kept them out of school. It caused massive inflation, had a flood of illegals crossing over the border. Goodness gracious, I could go on, but you know, the Democrats went insane. My vote was not only a vote for Donald Trump, but it was anti-blue, and I will remain anti-blue for the rest of my life, pretty much.
Everybody who has a theory about it is probably right to some degree, and none of them are completely right. But it's disappointing. I like politics. I love this, and then I see that speech, and I think that's not a president. You know, that's not who I wanted to see win. Forget Democrat or Republican. It would have been nice to see somebody say something about his opponent, to be gracious in victory.
Gracious when they tried to throw him in jail and assassinate him? Is that what he should be gracious for?
Press on. But again, it doesn't. This was a landslide. This was a huge victory. I was wrong. I said if it was going to, I thought it would be close, which it was, but that's a lazy piece of analysis. The truth is, I said if it was going to be a landslide, it was going to be a landslide for Harris, but I didn't think it was going to be a landslide. So neither was it a landslide for Harris. So onward, I think it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens to.
The only thing that I would just urge people to do is don't lash out at voters, and that's rich coming from me because in 2016, I certainly lashed out at voters, and I think that was misplaced anger. I just think that the reason why a message like we need to save democracy didn't work is because I don't think Americans feel well represented by our democracy.
by the Democrats, because as I've explained, the Democrats tried to destroy democracy in terms of keeping Trump off the ballot, in terms of their primary, in terms of Bernie Sanders robbing him twice of the election, as I stated previously. The Democrats are the ones that are anti-democratic. They think that they deserve to rule because they are the quote-unquote elites, and all they do is smuggle the money out and give it back to their donors.
And I think that's part of Trump's appeal. I mean, and people are going to get upset about this, but I'm going to say it. I think that it's cheap politics, and I think it's pathetic to just constantly lash out as these people are all racist and sexist, and that's the only thing that explains it. If you're going to keep, going in that direction, I think we're going to keep losing. I think Democrats are going to keep losing. I think we need to come to terms with the real frustrations that voters have.
If you're going to trust one news show, we're it.
No.
So now,
but you're better than
my
some.
last thought is, guys, I find myself in a weird mood. I thought I'd be angrier or sadder, but I'm not at all sad. No, I didn't think I'd be sad. I'm never sad. I get either angry or happy, right? And I got angry earlier in the show. You heard me vent. I got it out of my system. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the pieces and we're going to rebuild. That's what we do.
Subscribe to the channel, y'all.
In my opinion, the one silver lining here is the establishment Democrats are burnt to the ground. They have no credibility at all. They're a total laughingstock. The American people chose Donald Trump, period. We don't like it. I don't like it. But that was their choice and they made it. So look, the reason I was so angry at Donald Trump is because he tried to undermine democracy. But in this election, they ran.
Go peacefully and patriotically and make your voices heard.
A fair contest and he won. That's democracy. So if you don't like it, then turn around and give the people what they want, right? So don't listen.
Thank you, Michael.
Don't listen to anyone on TV. Don't listen to the Democratic leadership. They have proven definitively that they have no earthly idea what they're doing. So let's rebuild. Let's rebuild from the ground up. Okay. So I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. As I was looking at our graphic there of Kamala Harris, I thought, oh no, one of the things they're going to say is, we shouldn't run a woman again. That's two women who lost. No,
maybe if it's Tulsi Gabbard or somebody with actually bona fides and decency and congruity, not Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't think it has anything to do with being a woman. I never thought it had anything. When Barack Obama was running, everybody's like, oh, don't run the black guy. Will the black guy lose? No, not only did he win, he won easily. Not only did he win once, he won twice. Not only did he win, he was at 83% approval rating after the first win. It's not about black or white or man or woman. It's about what kind of campaign do you run, right? And what's your strategy?
And can you complete an actual sentence? With Kamala, that's still in question. Anybody have word? Has she completed one since the election? I'm really asking.
What's your content? What's your substance? What are the times, etc.? Do not give up on women. Do not give up on female candidates. Don't do any of that, okay? You find me a strong woman candidate, which, in fact, I'll go find a strong woman candidate, and we can win easily. Maybe we rebuild a little bit with Tim Walz. So
good. Do it.
Second.
Go for it.
I love you guys for caring. I love you for watching. We appreciate you so much.
Wow, Cenk had a fantastic meltdown there. I have to give him credit for that. It was worth watching just for that. I was laughing the entire time. I hope that you guys were too. And thank God once again that Donald Trump won this election. I don't care what they say. If Team Blue had won and installed their DEI puppet, Kamala Harris, the free speech in our nation would be under massive attack. Donald Trump would have been in jail. We potentially would be in civil war. They already tried to shoot at him 2 times. And he survived. Now he gets to put the shoe on the other foot and kick them in the ass and see how they like it. And it is well-deserved because there's massive amounts of rife corruption within the Democrat Party. And I hope that Elon and Donald Trump and Steve Bannon unfurl it so that we all can see, unfurl that sail and set your sights on an island of decency, morality, and goodness. God bless America. Thank you for electing Donald Trump. God bless you out there. Please thumb up the video, subscribe, and share the video, and let me know what you thought of this epic election. Peace.